Onside kick. Northwestern is on it. At the 45, Scott Frost going for the mortal blow in this game, and now Northwestern has a short field.
I don't know about that.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
If you just joined us, Joey Yellen now quarterbacking. Blitz comes, Yellen dumps it off. Nice catch by Parson. Lost the ball! It's picked up! And another touchdown for Vanderbilt. C.J. Taylor.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Back in the gun. Heavy set. Travis. Back to Ward. Kicks his way into the end zone. Touchdown FSU. And the former walk-on Trayshawn Ward is the man tonight in Tallahassee.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Ani gets rid of it, and it's caught. Touchdown, Mean Green. What a throw and catch as he squeezes it in there.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Barnioff's had a nice camp. There's Hendershot. And to the end zone, Peyton Hendershot.
Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
All right, here we go on this Monday. It is the first really full week of college football with games like Georgia and Oregon against their former defensive coordinator, and of course Notre Dame, Ohio State, among some others. We will hear today from UT San Antonio, UTSA, head coach Jeff Traylor. He'll join us today. Dave Aranda, Baylor coach, had a chance to sit down with him earlier today. But it's the first week. We were at the Baylor media press conference, and I noticed a lot of reporters all over the country. You know, this is what whoever said. We get to a couple of quarterback decisions that were made, and yes, a lot of you on the chat room, my football fan heart is officially dead.
Can we, Garrett, I just want to play this audio again because I think Brock Heward was kind of all of us, and especially people who might love Nebraska like you do. But here is the call of the onside kick, and this is, I believe, how all of college football felt in that moment.
I'm the workhorse. Put it on my shoulders and run like that is going to give him even more of the workload.
Oh, and an onside kick. Northwestern is on it. At the 45, Scott Frost going for the mortal blow in this game, and now Northwestern has a short field.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'll have to get Brock on the show after he gets his jet lag figured out. Here's what I will say, and Chris Nelson nailed it. One, and we don't need to bring them up again. We talk too much about them until he's fired, whenever that might be. But here's the deal. They still had, and Chris brought this up, 6 possessions. Not only did that blow the momentum, you didn't score. You had one first down the rest of the game. The defense got gutted, but it just like, they always blanked the bed. Our good friend Joey Foster texted me when it was 28-17. I said, they will blank the bed. Someone will make a stupid decision. It was the head coach. I'm good, actually. I don't yell anymore. I don't scream anymore. I used to be a lunatic when they were winning national championships. I really am numb to it.
Yeah, Scott Frost made a decision that was desperation coaching, in that I'm trying to make I'm going to show everybody that I deserve to be here, even though there's heat on me. I'm going to outsmart the world. There were 24 total minutes left in the game. And he said, I thought we could win it right then. There's 24 minutes left. That's your MO has been, it doesn't matter how long's left in the game. You're in peril.
Now,
you got to play it that way.
It's just stupid. Even if you record the onside kick, that doesn't mean you score, even though you just did. You didn't score again. You had one first down. Your team just had a balloon pop. And this is whether it's late in the game, whether it's late game calls, whatever. Then he throws his offensive coaches under the bus because he's jealous about the fact he doesn't get to call the plays anymore, saying that they're going to have to learn in this league, that they're going to have to adjust. In the Big Ten, with all due respect to the Big Ten, it's a nightmare for all of the fans that have supported, but you know what? No one feels sorry for them. They rammed, through everybody for nearly 40 years. No one feels sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for me. They suck. I feel better.
Yeah.
They do. They are just, they're when you forget how to win, then you're a loser. And that's who they've been now for really a long, long time. It's not like the game with how many times last week when people brought this up, I said, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Okay, so that's done. Did anyone have an impressive win? Really, was there a game this weekend? And obviously for Northwestern, after what they were last year, they're an every other year team with Coach Fitzgerald. Anybody have a win? Was there even a game that mattered that much this weekend?
No. That was the one that
might have been because it was one of the few that was being played. Now, there are some dudes this week, though, huh? There are some dudes this week, including that I mentioned Oregon and Georgia. We'll have Chip Towers of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution at 4:45, and then also we'll check in with Oregon later in the week, and then also Ohio State, Notre Dame. Those are two of the headliners. UTSA in Houston.
Yeah.
Jeff Traylor joins us today at around 4:30.
And look, I will say, here's one that did matter. North Texas and UTEP mattered in that league.
Hell of a win for Seth Luttrell and company.
Great way to start off the season, and you can see some of that momentum carrying forward. By the way, the all-orange get-up that UTEP wore, I thought looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you do that solid color. I thought they might, look like a bunch of cans of Orange Crush, but really looked pretty good. I like the fit there.
Yeah,
so.
No, it's a nice win for Seth Luttrell and company. I text Phil Bennett. Nice win for Phil Bennett. North Texas starts off with a conference win as well, just like Northwestern was able to do as well. A lot of people are on. By the way, Brian Etheridge sent this out earlier today. Today, Sikkim365.com, which was the original part of all of this house that we've been building, where Brian, Ashley, and Colt, were a part of it, 6 years old today. Sikkim365.com debuted 6 years ago today, and imagine just all the changes we've seen in the last couple of years with what we've been able to be a part of. We will get into the NFL starting, not this week, but soon. Have a couple of notes with that. Also, my conversation with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda today from earlier today. It's about 12 or 13 minutes. We'll have that at 4. And we'll check in with Travis Hines, who writes and covers Iowa State, at around 3:40. And there was a Baylor hype video. We wanted to play it Friday. We're going to play it today at 5:20. The logistics of us being at the high school stadium on Friday night did not allow us to do that. So we've got a lot to get to. Now, so again, happy anniversary to Brian, Colt, and Ashley for their idea of Sikkim365.com and everybody that is a part of that. Big 12 this week. Paul, rip them off real quick. I'm going to give you the games you tell me. And some of them are gimmies, although you never know. Southeast Missouri at Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Oklahoma hosts UTEP, so they're well, you don't know what we're going to see, but still.
It's going to be Oklahoma, but I guarantee UTEP might scrap a little bit.
Anytime a team gets to sneak a game in before you, and you haven't played, I don't care who you are, that's got Albany at Baylor. We'll be at that game, and we'll have the various people a part of that game this week. South Dakota at Kansas State. K-State's won 5 in a row. Last time they met 4 years ago, 27-24 Kansas State.
Yeah, I'll take Kansas State. I think it's going to be a little bit different.
UL Monroe, Texas, that game, and then, of course, Alabama.
As much as I love the Bowden family and Terry Bowden, I think I'm going to have to lean towards Sark in the Horns.
Murray State at Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
And Joey McGuire will join this show sometime, probably Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Now, some earlier games in the week. Central Michigan at Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Although, remember, Central Michigan a couple years, like
5 or 6 years ago.
5 or 6 years ago.
2016 beat Oklahoma State.
Yeah, beat Oklahoma State.
West Virginia
Cooper
at
Rush.
Pitt. West Virginia, boy, the chat room.
Okay.
The Pitts and the West Virginians.
I'm about to not be
West Virginians.
I'm about to not be asked back on any of the West Virginia shows I've been on, but I got to pick Pitt. I'm picking Pitt.
That's Paul Catalina picking Pittsburgh.
I mean, look, they have to prove something to me. And right now it's more.
You know what? When Neil Brown is in the pregame talk, remember what Paul Catalina said. You have to prove something to him.
Yeah, but if I'm picking between a guy I like in Neil Brown, and I think could be a good head coach, but has not done it yet at West Virginia, versus Pat Narduzzi, I'm taking Pat Narduzzi. I'm just doing it.
I enjoyed listening to him in the year that they played Baylor in the Cotton Bowl. Tennessee Tech at Kansas. First time they've ever met. And then TCU at Colorado, which is kind of interesting. The new Sonny Dykes is playing, maybe going to mix in all three of his quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think TCU will win this one because I have no faith in Colorado.
I don't even know anything about Colorado. It's just a team that you just...
You know who else doesn't know anything about Colorado yet?
Don't?
Probably they don't.
Yeah. All right, so much. Oh, John Baptist, I'm tired of the Pitt hype. Chris, let's go Pitt. Scotty, Pitt 27-20. Joey Foster going to be after you, Paul. Can you guys also preview new Big 12 teams each week? Yes, we will do that. UC Realist will always, in fact, UCF Realist will always, in fact, include Brigham Young, Cincinnati, Houston, and also UCF. TCU's whipping Colorado. More Pitt hype. Can you guys, okay, so isn't it, so, okay, even though there wasn't a lot of evidence, and most of the evidence was from the morgue of what is Lincoln, or Scott Frost's career as a head coach in Lincoln, at least there's a game or so. Now we get some dudes. I mean, that's what I want to call them. Those what I call bangers. Got some banger games this week. At least we think we do.
Yeah, and you know what is great about this week is Garrett Ross and I will be at odds until...
Y'all ain't ready. Florida State's not ready.
Probably not.
Well, yeah, they're playing LSU?
Yeah, and here's the thing. The Florida State...
Wait a minute. They tuned up. Duquesne took them to the limit now.
I'm not worried about Duquesne.
But Florida State is so desperate to get back in the national consciousness that they agreed to play LSU at the Superdome.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Well, no, I like that. I like the fact that they're going to go play right there in their backyard as well. Now, there were some quarterback decisions. We don't have all of them because it's impossible to get. Haynes King, A&M, TJ Finley, Auburn, and then Michigan's going to go with the split rotation again.
And it's biblical. Yeah, according to Jim Harbaugh, it's biblical in nature.
It does seem to be biblical. And, but you think he just doesn't know because they've done this before?
That's what he did last year, and I think he's probably comfortable not doing that. I think also Jim Harbaugh is the kind of guy who likes to have a little bit of whether it's like mystery, whether it's really mystery or not. It might be fake mystery. Just at least he believes that stuff. Again, it's not like the old Bull Durham line is if you think that you're, on a streak because of whatever reason, I won't because it's a family show, then you are on the streak because of that reason. So if Jim Harbaugh thinks they win because of that and it helped him focus on that, then it does. But does it really in reality? No. Like just because you don't wash your socks doesn't mean you're going to hit a home run, all those things. But mentally, if you do, you don't mess with the streak. So right now, I mean, yes, he's 0 for his last one because they got throttled by Alabama, but or who they get throttled by, but they got throttled in the playoff. Yeah, sure, he's 0 for his last one, but he was doing really well beating Ohio State with that philosophy, and that's the big thing he has to ride on.
All right, the 4 incoming teams. UCF is playing South Carolina State. Brigham Young at USF. Gary Bohannon against Brigham Young again. Cincinnati at Arkansas. That's a banger.
Yeah.
It is. It's 2 top 25 teams. And then Houston at UT San Antonio. I'm calling that a banger because I think that, even if UTSA is not getting as much love as they got near the end of last year, despite the loss to North Texas and in the bowl game, it's a banger. And so there's some games to kind of look forward to them. What was neat for me is I went and played golf Saturday morning and had the round of my year. And then I got back. I dropped by H-E-B for a second to try to make a couple of those knick-knack appetizers, And then, of course, that didn't. None of my appetizers went down very well, even with the lead. And then eventually but what is your, if you had a go-to, if you're at home, not tailgating, what is your go-to, cook something, watching your favorite team at home?
Oh, since I got the air fryer, it's been wings.
Wings?
Oh, my gosh.
And then, of course, there's the queso, sausage, queso dip, whatever it might be. So whatever you have, we'll have fun with that today as well.
I made some delicious wings for because when I got home, it was already Nebraska and Northwestern, and I thought there was going to be some overlap into Florida State and Duquesne, but there was an hour and 40-minute weather delay in Tallahassee, so they were long gone by that time. But it was,
the wings? Yeah, the air fryer. I think mine's called Ninja.
That's what I have.
Jen got it. Yeah,
two little baskets.
You could throw something in there. I think you could just throw bags of whatever, a couple of cans of something, and something good would come out of it. Justin saying chili cheese dogs. There was a place in Tyler, Der Wiener Schnitzel, that had the absolute most amazing chili cheese hot dogs. And I'm not proud of this. I used to go do a junior college game at Wagstaff Gym. I'd go over there and I'd do the show from the gym, and I could down 3 to 4 of them, not even thinking about it.
We used to have one now, and it's very sad to drive by. It's like a check cashing place.
Yeah. Steak flautas. McMuffin.
Oh, there you go, Mick.
Big time with the
pepperoni pizza dip. Alan, you're going to have to share this recipe.
How about John Baptist Italian beef sandwiches?
Oh, yeah. There we go.
There you go.
A little Chicago in him.
Paxton, mine is Ninja. It's great as well. Wings and a lot of wings as well. We need Cincinnati to win. We are fans of Cincinnati. We are fans of Brigham Young. We are fans of Houston, and also fans of UCF. Although Houston, UT San Antonio is going to test me because our buddy in Jeff Traylor. Now, we will. Okay, what do you want to do here? Craig is out. Got dental work going on, and I just texted him a minute ago. He's still at the dentist. Just got some dental work. He's going to do this about 2 weeks ago, and it got canceled. And he needs to get it done. So he's out today, should be back tomorrow as normal. Jalapeno poppers, pulled pork. We got a lot of them coming in now. The pepperoni pizza dip.
Yeah, I'm going to need that recipe.
Barbecue nachos with pulled pork or brisket. I'm not a big pulled pork fan. Brisket, I'm okay. But I'm not a big pulled pork fan for some reason.
Here's the thing about pulled pork. Quite often it's not like really flavorful. It's all about the sauce you put on it. So, I think that's, and in Texas, brisket, if you put sauce on brisket, it's either because it's a special sauce made especially for that brisket or because the brisket wasn't very good.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. Potato skins. We'll do this for just a little bit longer. From Paula, believe it or not, boiled shrimp takes 5 minutes. Take them out. Ice bath, and they're ready to eat. I could eat shrimp on anything. I could eat shrimp on anything, and I love it. So, Paula, thank you for that one. I didn't think about that. Miguel, who needs game day. I'm making truffle butter burgers right now.
Miguel on it was the makings of, and it's kind of Dennis Poling is the personnel guy, and this is what he likes to do, but there's way more people in the depth chart than should be, as far as like when you're normally looking at it. It's way more than a 2 deep.
There's 6 tight ends.
Yeah.
There's 5 quarterbacks. I think what you're doing is you're giving everybody a chance to be a part of the. Now, I thought this was interesting, and Jack, I don't know if you can shake me up on this one, like a catcher and a pitcher. The running back depth chart is Tay McWilliams. That's not a surprise. Quaylon Jones, Richard Reese, Josh Fleeks, no Squirrel. But he's on the kick return depth chart.
Yeah, that surprised me that he would be on one and not the other.
So, and Aranda brought him up. Jack, did you ever hear exactly what he said? Because it was so hard to hear the audio. That he's back to practice? Okay. And we'll see what happens with Squirrel Williams, who gets more attention for a guy that has not played very much because of the absolute ability that he seems to have. But it's frustrating because, and imagine how he feels. He's always injured, and it's too bad because he is a dynamic player. Andy, bacon-wrapped Dove poppers with cream cheese, jalapenos, and pineapples.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
that's complicated.
We are 3 days away from dove season.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, September 1st.
Flush Jackson, Torchy's Roscoe, waffles, chicken, egg syrup on a taco.
Huh.
I didn't know that. Deep fried alligator from Phil.
There you go, Phil. That's right.
And brats and sauerkraut. I'm not a big sauerkraut guy. You know what my mom did? Whenever my brothers and I have 3 brothers, so the 4 of us, when we got rambunctious or we didn't do something or we were breathing, my mom would punish us by going with either liver and onions from the skillet or and Brussels sprouts that were like just soaking in water and they were soft and nasty. And if I got in trouble, she would throw sauerkraut in there somewhere because she knew I hated sauerkraut. Hate it. Just never have liked it. It's just bitter. I don't like it.
You know what my mom used to do? She used to, and it's weird because I like these vegetables now, Brussels sprouts and asparagus, because if you grill or smoke them or cook them a certain way, you can make them taste how you want to. My mom used to get the asparagus that was in the can. Do you remember how mushy and smelly that was?
God, is that was just to be punished?
I mean, they would eat.
I love asparagus.
And then she'd make me
on the grill.
Before I could have the thing that I liked, I'd have to eat like a couple bites of it. Of those green beans in the can that are all mushy. When you could and I've made, she's in Africa on safari right now, so I'll make fun of her as much as I want. She'll never see it. But when I found out when I was about 17 that you could take green beans fresh and put them in a pan with olive oil, a little salt and pepper, and garlic salt, and they taste amazing. I was like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, I know. All right, 3:21 is the time. We are loaded up today with numerous different guests. Let's break here and then come back with, in college football, who is on upset alert this week, in your opinion? And it has to be upset alert. Who is on upset alert, in your opinion? 254-339-1122, 254-339-1122. We will have Travis Hines on Iowa State and the Big 12 at around 3:40 or so. Dave Aranda, Jeff Traylor, Chip Towers on Georgia. Travis Roeder will join us. Roeder will join us on breaking down some things. Baylor at 5. The hype video from Brian Fonville that he included us in at the beginning. And then David Hellman on the Cowboys and Paul's Top 5. We'll have some high school football nuggets from the first week as well. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
There is a lot of discussion from many of you, and on the next Nebraska football coach, Matt Campbell, why would he leave there? We kind of discussed this, I think, last week. Why?
Skrilla.
Why?
Green.
Why
Money.
leave there?
Money, I would think. But
I mean, you would be leaving, yes, but and I would love that, but Tom Herman?
No. I think Tom Herman's been working for the Bears. I don't think that he's
out now. He's a broadcaster somewhere. Did you know that?
No.
He's an analyst somewhere.
I don't believe that Tom Herman want to get back into recruiting. That's my guess. I think Tom Herman and Dan Mullen are going to be the broadcasters or NFL coaches. Not head coaches necessarily, but, Dan Mullen kind of showed it. I mean, he actually watched him this week. I guess he's on ESPN. Yeah, Dan Mullen's on ESPN. And he's pretty good at the broadcasting gig. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, go be a quarterback coach in the NFL or something like that. But he showed last year that he was not going to recruit to the level, especially that his biggest rival a conference rival in Georgia will do. And so if he's not going to be willing to do that, then he just needs to go to the NFL and use his knowledge that way.
All right.
I think Tom Herman's probably the same way.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, I guess, the smoke with that. Who is on upset alert? By the way, from Hayden again, Craig is out. He asked where Craig was. He's got dental work. He's out today. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Someone said I want to get away from the food topic. They actually like liver and onions.
My dad did.
My mom sent me to my room without dinner, and I would love that night to have had liver, onions, and sauerkraut.
My dad used to get, when we would go to like Luby's or something, that's what he would get.
Like chewing on a belt. Let's see. John Baptist, upset alert. John Baptist said Georgia.
Well, against Oregon.
Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning.
Yeah. We'll have Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution on Georgia, Oregon. And he went to Oregon and watched a couple of days with them. Spent some time with Dan Lanning. He'll join us today at around 4:45. Let's see. Houston. Al Zagan said Houston's on upset alert. They have UTSA. Houston. Ohio State from Litchie 721.
Yeah, I mean, they're two touchdown favorites against Notre Dame, And they're 2 touchdown favorites against the 5th-ranked team in the country right now. I know it's preseason, but that shows you how confident people are in this Ohio State team. I think Ohio State's probably going to win the national title this year. I do. I think that if Jim Knowles fixed their, even to a small degree, their schematic issues on defense, because I cannot find myself believing that they didn't recruit good defensive players. But if they muscle up front and don't get gashed in the run anymore, who's going to beat Ohio State?
Well,
like that, because that's how they lost last year when they did.
Well, we didn't expect Oregon to run all over them and through them in the opening game. So that'll be, I guess, because of what happened to them last year against Oregon, perhaps that means Ohio State has to kind of have all, like eyes in the back of their head. Plus Notre Dame, I know a lot of people are not sleeping on them. They're number 5 in the country, but I do feel like most people, at least from my reading, whatever, that just think that there's such a drop-off between the top 3 or 4 that no matter what, and that Notre Dame is there, and it could be 6 or 8 or other schools. UTSA as a first game is only one that matters, that really worries me. That's the one from Juan. Of all the games that Houston has on their schedule, that's the one. West Virginia is going to Pitt, a beatdown Thursday. Mick says, Baylor, by the way, guys, is going to go 9-3. Okay, I know the answer to this. Would you take 9-3 if you were a Baylor fan right now?
I think most of them would say no.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would too. Yeah,
because that probably means they're not going to win the conference at 9-3, and no, I don't think they'd be happy with that. I mean, look, they should be content that 9-3 was a bad year, but I don't think they'd be happy.
That's how things have changed. How about Vanderbilt? Don't forget about Vanderbilt rolling up 60+ or whatever against Hawaii.
Yeah, that one. When you really think about what's gone on in Hawaii the last couple of years. The fact that they've had so many players transferring out. They had people, essentially the whole roster wanted off when Todd Graham was still a head coach. And so they have all that going on there at Hawaii, and their stadium is, condemned. They're playing in their practice facility, all of that. Hawaii is an FBS team that's playing with an FCS roster right now. So it shouldn't be too surprising that Vanderbilt rolled in there and put as many points on them as they did. And I think it's surprising because people just equate Vanderbilt with always being bad. But if Vanderbilt plays an FCS team, they're going to win most of the time, right? So, yeah, that's what Hawaii is right now, unfortunately for them. Now, there's a tremendous amount of talent on the islands, and they love football there. And there's, every one of us could sit down and, name a Hawaiian football player that's really good from your lifetime, or a Polynesian football player. And you would think if they could keep some of that talent at home that they'd be good. Well, but right now they can't.
They used to be, not just because of some of the quarterbacks with, what's the guy that's the coach now, but Chang who was the guy that back longer ago?
Timmy Chang.
They were always at least entertaining. Yeah, they were somewhat.
The late Cole Brennan, yeah.
From Clint Moses, no Craig the Dragon, I'm out. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Matt Campbell, again, here's another one. Matt Campbell. Georgia Southern gives Nebraska a tough game, maybe wins. From Timothy, my good friend, an Iowa fan. I hate him. But it would not surprise me. Also, Arizona on upset alert against North Dakota State. Would that be upset?
I guess because it's FCS versus FBS, but
I wouldn't want North Dakota State on my schedule.
Well, ask Kansas State. They lost to them.
I have incredible respect, not only for North Dakota State with what they've done, because of how they play the game. I love that. In fact, I think that I don't think that would be an upset, but maybe with Vegas it is. Chris, Pitt will remind West Virginia why they are the little brother when Pitt takes them to the woodshed. Let's go, Pitt. Paula, y'all are on fire today, not even through the first hour. I believe this will be a 5-alarm show by the time 6 o'clock rolls around. Paula, thank you so much. And I'm still thinking about that boiled shrimp. I love shrimp, as I mentioned. From Logan, Campbell's not going anywhere, and I hope not, Logan. From Wet Blanket, he's got the hook'em horns up, and it looks like for some reason, Wet Blanket, explain the other emoji, that for some reason makes me think of Wyoming. Why? I don't know why. Georgia from B. Lee will lose 3 games. The Heisman Trophy, definitely no for Stetson Bennett. I haven't seen his name attached to the Heisman at all. They could go undefeated. I don't think he would be a part of that conversation. I don't think so.
Stetson Bennett's already hard at work at cementing his future business in the greater Athens area, where that guy will, honestly, if you want, like, whatever he's going to be, like the law firm, insurance agency, whatever that kid's going to do is going to be big, because he will be, for all time, the dude in Athens, Georgia, because he was the quarterback that delivered them their first national title in 40 years.
He will never have to buy anything ever again. I'm surprised. I have not heard much with him in NIL, though.
I bet you there's something going on there.
Anthony Davis has Baylor released the depth chart. We just mentioned that. If you want a specific position or whatever, let me know. Let us know. We'll give it back to you. We mentioned a couple of different positions as well. Again, the depth chart's a big deal. At the media session earlier today, but sometimes those things are put together, and I don't know. Juan says A&M is on upset alert
against App State. By the way, thanks to Texas A&M. By the way, they sent us some stuff today.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
There we go. Yeah, and then we got we got an E. King Gill statue back here as well.
All right.
You can see it.
Thank you. Thank you to the Aggies. Tim, I don't hate you. I hate the fact that my team sucks.
Yeah.
A&M's playing Sam Houston.
Oh, that's Sam Houston. Okay.
Who's like just a notch below North Dakota State, right there in the top 5 teams year in and year out.
App State is after Miami. Yeah,
but now they're moving up. Sam Houston's moving up in the world. Not that the other level wasn't good. University of Houston, A&M, both lose their openers.
That's a pretty bold statement.
So Houston, UTSA, A&M, and listen, I'm an SFA guy, and they got throttled by Jacksonville State. And I have tremendous respect for Sam Houston State, but they're not going to beat A&M. Now, that could be intriguing because they're good, but Florida over Utah. Now, that's another banger.
Yeah,
Is that a banger even? And it's Florida that's not highly ranked.
Well, I think people think this will be a game because of Anthony Richardson, but this will be interesting because we have not seen a lot from Anthony Richardson. He had a couple big games last year, and then he got hurt dancing in the lobby of the team hotel, if I'm not mistaken, but he got hurt off the field, and then we didn't really see him again for the rest of the year, and it was still Emory Jones, Emory Jones, who I believe was named the starter at Arizona State as a transfer, but so we'll see. I mean, Anthony Richardson has shown some great things with his legs, passing-wise, not what the Gator fans want to see, but if he can go in and of course, Utah's going in there. That's the other reason I think people think this, because the Swamp is a very difficult place to play. Those people are all wearing jorts, they're all liquored up, and they're all loud as crazy. I mean, you can walk in that stadium, and it shakes your bones. It gets so loud. And so, yeah, it's going to be a tough place for Utah to go in.
That's among the bangers.
Yeah, and Utah, and here's the deal. As good as Utah has been, and I doubt there's a place they've been in the Pac-12 in the last couple of years, given how the Pac-12 has been, that is anything like the Swamp.
Yeah. But you have a senior, you have a very experienced team, a team that plays at, where they don't, you wouldn't think that they would get in a position unless the way they play the game is going to be good no matter where. It's kind of like what Dave Aranda wants Baylor to be, or just pick a team and a coach that you play a style that's good at home and away. It's not like you have – there's certain teams that everyone seems to play better at home. But there's certain styles that seem like they would fit better on the road. And Utah, for some reason – Florida may roll them, we'll see. What about Purdue over Penn State?
Would that be an upset, Jack, in your opinion? Okay. Penn State, I don't know.
Jack is our resident Boilermaker.
Yeah. I don't know about Penn State because you would have thought they'd have been better last year. They were very average. I don't know how much better that offense is going to be. They really struggle to score points. They seemingly will always have a good defense under James Franklin, but I don't know how good they're really going to be. I just don't. I'm going to have to see him. Sean Clifford, people think a lot of him, but again, they didn't score a lot of points last year, and I don't know how that's going to change.
All right, Sam Houston State, Houston on upset alert. So we've got Georgia State. Every time I go to do so, Georgia State just dropped. Georgia State over South Carolina.
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
All right.
I think Spencer Rattler kind of changes that game, any game that South Carolina's in now, because they haven't had a guy with his talent. And I know that he's a transfer, and he was, underwhelming at Utah last year, or at Oklahoma last year. But look, he's still a very, very good
Al
player.
Zagon, who do you got between North Texas and SMU? Well, North Texas has played and looked pretty good. I would think still SMU is the favorite in that game, although we are all fans of the mean green. Put Arkansas on upset alert against Cincinnati. Would technically that would be an upset?
They're ranked right next to each other, so I don't even know. That to me is almost a pick 'em game.
Yeah. Shawnee Hill, what do you think the score will be at the Nebraska-Oklahoma game? I don't even know the damn score when they play this weekend against South Dakota, whoever it is. I don't want to. We need to go on a moratorium of talking about a football program that is dead. Dead. Don't bring them up again, Paul. If there's anything in the top 5 about who's going to replace Scott Frost today, that's going to be it, isn't it? Okay.
That's it. I mean, hate to spoil it for everybody, but yeah.
I didn't even know that. I just started thinking.
I'm trying to pick the hottest topics in college football or things that are interesting, and ignoring the fact that Scott Frost is probably going to get fired on October 2nd after his buyout drops 50% would seem to me to be kind of lackadaisical in what my state of mission is.
Everybody in the studio knew that was the top 5 but me.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just I wanted you to react to it when it happened.
Well, I really do think that we talk way too much about your team and my team on this show, because both of them are irrelevant or have been. Now, yours at least won a national title 10 years ago. Let's see. Notre Dame catches Ohio State, according to Mike. By Sir blah, blah, blah. Greatest coach quote ever. We can't win at home, and we can't win on the road. My failure as a coach is I can't think of anywhere else to play. Hey, Arizona and San Diego State's kind of intriguing. We've discussed quite a bit about the Pac-12, and San Diego State's name's been out there a few times as well. All right, from Patrick, Notre Dame will lose badly to Ohio State. When we come back, we will hear from Travis Hines. He covers Iowa State. Dave Aranda, my conversation with him a little after 4. We'll check in with Chip Towers today on the game between Georgia and Oregon. UTSA's Jeff Traylor. So much to get to. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace. In fact, over the weekend, as I try to do once, not every weekend, but I took a big, thick 1.25 inch bone-in ribeye out of the freezer, put it in the refrigerator, and let it thaw overnight. And then Saturday evening, even though it was hard for me to eat after watching the game in Dublin, Ireland, I devoured a bone-in ribeye. It was absolutely delicious, and I get my steaks custom cut at Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, 425 Lake Air Drive at Waco. Beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. Paula brought up earlier about maybe for one day you're going to do while you're at home watching the game on TV, what do you want to have besides queso dip or wings? Just boiled shrimp and let it get cooled down, and it's delicious. You can get great seafood and shrimp at Waco Custom Marketplace. If you want to get cheese or queso, you want sausage, you want to go make your queso dip, chips, they have that as well. Fresh baked kolaches and bread every day with their full-service bakery. And, of course, the butcher shop is open all the time as well. At 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace, your tailgate store, brisket, tri-tip, and more, charcoal. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know the average American pays over $500 a month for their car payment? What would you do if you didn't have to make that payment for 90 days? Where else could you use $1,500? Keep your car payments at Genco. Buy new or refinance your current vehicle and have no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of our low rates and no payments for 90 days. Only at Genco. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies insured by NCUA.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
First full weekend of the college football season. Iowa State has Southeast Missouri State. And then, of course, the following week, it's the rivalry with Iowa, and then much more. They play Baylor before the end of September in fact, less than a month. So that's a great game up in Ames. We're now joined by Travis Hines, the Des Moines Register, joins us covering Iowa State and the Big 12 on 365 Sports. Travis, how would you say the anticipation for this team was or is compared to really where they've been the last couple of years?
It's certainly very different. I mean, I think we've gone into certainly the previous two seasons and maybe three with Iowa State fans really looking at it as a potential for not just a special season, but historic seasons. And they got that 1 out of the 3 years with the Fiesta Bowl championship back in 2020. You know, things certainly did not go the way people had hoped, with last year opening the season in the top 10 and finishing 7-6. And now when you look at the roster, the amount of turnover, not just in terms of the number, but the quality, the names that you know, guys that have been All-Americans, whether it's Breece Hall or Mike Rose, Charlie Kohler, the Brock Purdy, the all-time winningest quarterback in program history. All those guys are gone. So this is a very different team. I think they have a very different set of expectations, but not to the extent of where we've seen Iowa State previous to the Matt Campbell era, where a rebuilding season probably meant trying to scratch out 2 or 3 wins. I think for this team and its fan base, a bowl is still a hope, if not an expectation. And I think when you look at still the players they have coming back and the level to which they've recruited over the last 3, 4, 5 years, I think that's a realistic expectation and hope. Now we'll see if they can get to it, but this is a team that is certainly turning a page into a new era with so many of the stars of the last 2 years moving on.
Does their style of play that, their goal is to be very fundamentally sound? I mean, nobody's going to confuse this for a Mike Leach offense. Does that make it easier to transition now from, group of quarterback and skill players to the next one?
I think it makes it easier because they're they focus so much on those fundamentals, the ball control, leading with defense, that they're likely to just be in a lot of close games. When you look at the difference, really between 2019, 2020, and 2021 for Iowa State, the biggest difference is winning one-score games. When they win one-score games, they have the ability to, have that special season. When they lose those games, it kind of drifts off into mediocrity a little bit. But I think the fact that you've seen that now for 3-4 years, where Iowa State continues to be in close games, is certainly a function of their style of play. And I don't think that will change this year, where because they're probably going to be leading with their defense, and I don't anticipate that defense taking a big step back, they're going to be in a lot of games. Now the question is, with a rookie quarterback, with an unproven offensive line and running back and still some, replacing a lot of contributors defensively, are they going to have enough to get over the hump in those close games?
That's when you mention these one-score games, we just saw a former rival of Iowa State and how they have been awful in the one-score games in Nebraska, and then another one, and this just killed that program. A lot of other things have as well. Baylor last year, they won those games, and I don't know if you can count on that year in and year out. Can you, Travis?
I think it makes it difficult. I mean, certainly if you ask any coach, I think they would prefer just to win games by 35. That would be the way to go. But I think what Matt Campbell has recognized and been pretty upfront about at Iowa State is they're probably not consistently going to recruit the level of athlete and football player at scale where you can be an Ohio State, an Alabama, a Texas at its peak, an Oklahoma at its peak, that you're probably going to have to steal one of his phrases, win in the margins, and that means winning close games. But it certainly sets you up for a season like last year, where really everything was set up for Iowa State to have its historic season, but they could just not close out close games. I mean, that game in Waco a year ago, really hinges on a botched special teams by Iowa State, which has been an Achilles heel for them really for the last 3 or 4 years. So that, while I think certainly they would love to win blowouts, I don't think that's in their DNA. I don't think that's in their blueprint. But even if you put an emphasis and a focus on winning close games, you are leaving a lot to chance just by nature of how chaotic a college football game can be. So certainly, if you're going to be putting yourself in that position, a lot can go right, but a lot can go wrong.
Where do you feel they stack up with the rest of the Big 12 right now as the season starts?
I think they're in the middle of the pack. Maybe I think we see this a lot in the Big 12, where sometimes you can have that front runner, take a big step forward, and then you have, the seller is pretty well defined, and then it really comes down to those one-score games in the middle. And I think Iowa State's somewhere in there. I think with their lack of experience at key positions, most notably that quarterback positions, with Hunter Deckers, who is a third-year player in the system but has never started a game. Iowa State is high on him, but he still does not have the game reps that I think make you feel really good about being in those close games. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Iowa State, but I do think with what they have defensively, they still have a lot of guys back in the secondary that makes them formidable. Will McDonald, as a defensive end, is one of the best pass rushers in college football. So I do think they're going to have the opportunity to win some games, but it seems to be it's going to come down to how do they score points and how consistently can they do that with a new quarterback and a new running back, replacing, Breece Hall, one of the best running backs that the school's ever had.
Can Brock be more we saw a little bit of him. And obviously, Breece Hall is a fantastic player, drafted high in the NFL. How good can Brock be? Not trying to compare him to Breece Hall, but how good can he be?
That's a $1 million question around names right now, because if you look back into that recruiting class, Breece Hall and Jyrell Brock came in together, and Jyrell Brock was pretty considerably the more well-regarded recruit of those two, before Breece Hall emerged midway through his true freshman season as, really being special. And we just haven't seen enough of Brock to really know. I think, certainly the staff was high on him. They have some youngsters in the program that they like a lot too. But I think the question for Iowa State fans isn't necessarily, is Jyrell Brock going to be this dynamic back? The question is the next great Iowa State back on the roster, regardless of who it is? Because if you look at Matt Campbell's tenure, before Breece Hall was David Montgomery, who now plays for the Chicago Bears and was fantastic for Iowa State. Prior to coming to Iowa State at Toledo, he had Kareem Hunt and David Fluellen. So obviously NFL running backs as well. So the question, I think Iowa State fans look at it as, this staff knows how to evaluate running backs at a very high level. And I think there is almost an assumption that there's an NFL running back on this roster. The question is, who's it going to be? Because the last time Iowa State looked to replace one of those in David Montgomery, the job went to a senior in Kene Nwangu, and midway through the season, it was Breece Hall's job. So I think that people are going to kind of wait for a few weeks, really, I think, to have a feeling for what that running back room is really going to be like for Iowa State.
All right, Travis, you mentioned the Big 12, how it can have, with all due respect to what Oklahoma State or Baylor did last year, or on with TCU one year, and Oklahoma ran the conference for a long, long time, at least from 2010 until last year. But there was a little bit of a crack last year. It doesn't mean that they're going to drop. We don't know what's going to happen with them. But how would you, if you don't mind, share who's in the upper echelon, at least right now, entering the season in the Big 12? And would that be 3 teams? Would that be 4 teams? Or is there a clump of 5? How would you say that?
It's a great question. I mean, I think Oklahoma obviously is in such a unique position with the coaching change and, not having the success last year that I think that they were hoping for. I think Kansas State's ascended. I think obviously what Baylor has done the last couple of years puts them in that conversation. But I think there's so much unknown with the league right now that it's really I think it's harder this year than maybe previous years to look at it in the preseason and really tear it out. I mean, I think we're going to find out early, who the good teams are. I remember, being in Waco last year when that Baylor team was not super well regarded. I think it was the 3rd or 4th week in September, and walking out of there being like, that Baylor team's for real. And we all saw what they did later in the year. So I think we'll know early, but I'm having a hard time really tearing out the Big 12, before the season starts, because I think the separation maybe just isn't as defined as we've seen previously.
On Matt Campbell, is the Nebraska job one that Iowa State worries that he might be attracted to?
I don't think so. I mean, I think twofold. I think one, objectively, that Nebraska job is not certainly what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I think for Iowa State fans being so close to it, they see all the warts of that job and all the challenges that present to it. We'll see what happens with Matt Campbell. I mean, I think the prevailing wisdom has always been that it would have to be an elite Midwest job, specifically Ohio State because he is an Ohio guy, maybe Notre Dame as one that has been mentioned, or Penn State. Nebraska has not historically been one that people had kind of zeroed in on. But you never know. I mean, if Iowa State disappoints this year and Nebraska throws a lot of money, who knows? And if Iowa State does really well and Campbell can see a future here, I could see that. I mean, I think what we've seen from Matt Campbell is certainly he's not out actively searching for jobs and looking to leave at every turn. But, I mean, in this coaching business, it's hard to rule anything out. But I don't get the impression that Nebraska would be on the short list of any dream jobs for Matt Campbell.
Listen, Travis, I'm a Nebraska fan, born there back many years ago, and I agree with you exactly what you said. I said that. I'm not so sure that's a jump. That's not a jump up. Maybe financially they could put a button. They got to be careful themselves because it's not like they're just loaded. But I think right now they are on the edge of being about a 30-year desert if they don't somehow turn this thing around and get the right person, whoever that next person will be if Frost, in fact, is gone. Thank you so much for your time. We had Matt on the show during our Big 12 Media Days. He was fantastic. I know you enjoy talking to him whenever you can. Thanks for your time. Let's have a hell of a football season, okay? Travis Hines from the Des Moines Register. Iowa State, Iowa, but you still have the first game. But it's a banger.
Yeah.
Is that our new term? We're gonna have.
Well, I mean, you've said it for years, so I don't know how new it is.
No, but I used to use the word banger when we were at Super Bowls, and there were guests, and then there were bangers, like Michael Irvin walking around the corner, or Steve Young, or someone like that.
That time we got a very aloof Deion Sanders.
The Deion, but he was great once we got him on the air.
Turned the mic on. It was unbelievable. Yeah. By the way, did you see the video today that was circulating? I saw it on Deion's Instagram, but he was telling the team, look, class starts Monday, no slides, no tank tops, no visible armpits and all this stuff. And I will say this, it is amazing to me the amount of personal growth. And if you decide that you know everything when you're 21 years old, to the point of where Deion's in his 50s now, okay, and how much you learn, Deion Sanders is a man up in front of a football team telling them to, one, go to class when there's a rule at the alma mater that we share called the Deion Sanders rule that applies to every student, because his last year at Florida State, he didn't go to class because he figured out, because Deion's a very intelligent person, that the grades don't get submitted until after the year is over. And so January 5th or so is when the grades had come out. So he'll be eligible through the whole season. He didn't have to work. The amount of personal growth that's happened that he can stay and go, hey, here.
I'll tell you this. I'll listen to Nick Saban anytime. Just something about, maybe it's also part of his part of the way he speaks, and plus, of course, his success. But Deion, when I see a video with Deion, I'm going to listen to it. And you're right, I agree. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Had a chance earlier today to sit down with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda, his first media session as they play Albany. Earlier, they play Albany on Saturday, 6 o'clock. Don't forget our pregame will be at 4 o'clock here, Sikkim365.com, and also 365 Sports. And we will be on with the great folks at KWTX this weekend as well, the CBS affiliate, with our pregame also on local TV, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Petty, right? Petty. I've already done that. Yes. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. What are those symptoms? Sex drive is just not the same. ED, part of all that. Just not feeling it, right? Number 2, sleep habits. 3, your energy, you're lethargic. It just doesn't seem to be, you're not the same. And that could be many things, including lack of sleep can lead to that, or bad diet, or you're just not staying active. But also your testosterone level drops as you get older. 1 out of every 3 men have symptoms. Go to PettyClinicLowT.com. Call them, email them, tell them I sent you. They will then set you up to get your blood work. They will take care of that. Get your blood results, Dr. Petty. If it's too low, your testosterone will put you in a program so you can increase your testosterone levels and be the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
If you're out looking for a great selection of new cars and trucks, then shop Allen Samuels in Waco, because we have some of the best deals in Central Texas that will put you in a new vehicle and driving away with confidence. During the Labor Day sales event, you can take your pick, a new 2022 Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger, and receive 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days. If you're a first responder, you get an extra $500 off your purchase. High-quality vehicles from a dealership with a hometown feel. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Do you
or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental. Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Shapen, a soft loft, and it's caught inside the 10. Drew Estrada.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com. Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda with me, David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. Do you ever really know who you have as a team or what your team is until they play their first game or they get tested the first time?
No, I think so. I think you know what's inside of them, and I think coaches see the greatness inside of players. I think I think what happens sometimes is that there's never really just a scent, and so the greatest player development is really coach development, and so that when things are hard or things don't go as planned and all this other thing, that coaches can really be better, because you end up coaching who you are. And it's in those critical moments where anything that was built up when the sun was shining and the days are happy and bright that are lost when the storm hits, And so I think the ability to kind of weather all of that and to really kind of invite it, because that is where we grow, and then kind of, to meet people where they're at and kind of build them up, I think builds a better you and builds a better, builds a better person. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you can see the greatness in people, but I think a lot of times it gets lost because the scheme and the ball and everything kind of takes over.
Speaking of scheme, you have a lot of players who are moving into roles that are much more prevalent than they've been because you lost some great players, but you have a lot of them coming through the system. Do you change your schematic or how you look at things based on who now is up next?
Yes. Yeah. I think both. I think offensively that's the case. I think we've got a fairly strong tight end room, and so I think you'll see more of them on the field. I think you have a really talented young receiver room, so I think there'll be kind of maturing into more of them on the field as it goes. Then I think defensively you see a really strong kind of front seven, and so you're going to see more ways not only that they can kind of hold the back end together, but more ways we can kind of let them loose. And then I think in the back end, there's some youth and some really talented people. So there's going to be a lot more true zone stuff early with the ability to show or to work to show the ability to play tighter man coverage. And so I think all of that is based upon, who you have, what's possible, what best fits us, what is the nature of us, and those things.
A young player who hasn't played much and then they get their first shot and they make a play. Is there anything not more beautiful than that, but seeing the light come on and seeing them make a play when people aren't sure they can?
Yeah, it is. It is really pretty cool. I think, the journey that it takes, like winning at every level is a thing. So winning in a walkthrough is something. Winning on the first day of fall camp, that practice is something. Winning on the first day of fall camp, padded practice is something. Winning on a scrimmage in McLean, crossing the bridge is something. Winning in the first game of the season is something. And so, you have to manage the noise. You have to manage the volume from outside in. You have to manage the battle with perfectionism that a lot of guys have, and all of those things are real things. That's really the game within the game. And I think as coaches, to try to understand that and to keep the game simple, like we talked about in just a while ago, simple ain't easy. It's because of all these other things that are real things that generally don't get addressed, and so I think you have to kind of build towards it so that when you do have success early, it's pretty cool.
Last year, I asked you about the difference between the fronts in the SEC compared to maybe the Big 12, and obviously you have a tremendous front. You made, I believe what you told me is in the SEC, they just let them run. They just go, and it's more scheme-oriented here. Are you getting closer to what you have up front to what you saw in the SEC?
I'd like to think so. We're going to have to do that in game situations. I thought towards the end of last year, there were times where we were doing that, and so I think for this year, to be tested continually to where we don't have to see a blitz on Sunday and put it into the game plan for the next week and all of these things that aren't really it, but to do it to where, hey, this is a technique that we've worked on since spring, since summer, since fall, and now it's showing up in the most competitive pressurized situation. That's the ideal. But I think, success can get in the way of that, right? Just like failure can. And so I think that would be ideal for us, but we clearly have to do it first.
Blake Shapen, your guy, he's the number one quarterback. Does he have a swagger, but it's controlled? How would you define him?
Yeah, he's a reserved guy, and I appreciate that about him. He studies. I'm doing one-on-ones with the team, and guys will come up and they'll say how they were in Blake's apartment, kind of hanging out over the weekend, and he's got like playbooks and drawings all sprayed across his floor, and it's kind of like I don't know, from the sounds of it, it's kind of like that. What was the Russell Crowe Beautiful Mind stuff going? And so that's cool. I think there's that. He does have a real strong hunger, and to have the guys see that, so when we're practicing, the offense is kind of right behind the remainder of the offense. Everyone but the 11 that are practicing at that moment are behind, about 10 yards or so behind the offense. And the guys are cheering and clapping their hands to try and give some energy. But there's times when Blake makes these throws, whether it's the arm angle or the release point or just the velocity on the throw, where guys are going, "Oh, did you see that?" Sometimes it's like, "Did you hear that?" And so I think like those things combined with the studying part, right, and not saying a lot, I think are really cool ways to go about it.
I shared an email or two with Dr. Lynch, and I know Dave Wilson wrote an article about you a week or two ago, brought him up, and he's going to come on with us a little bit later on. You've mentioned this before, that you've spent money when you really didn't have it to go pick the brains of people. It all paid off. It seemed like, how do you know when you should or shouldn't, when you could or not do that?
That's a good question. Yeah, I remember. So I was at Texas Tech, and we were in it was a sports psychology class, and probably the thing I was probably at the most while I was at Tech was the Barnes and Noble bookstore. And so I'd be walking up and down, and the people knew who I was, and Dave, nothing new. And then it got to where I would say, "Hey, did you find this?" And they're finding books and stuff. And so I remember reading all of his books, and and I think it eventually became a book that I think it was Mark Lochbaum was the name of the professor at Tech, and so he actually used that book for that class, Thinking Body, Dancing Mind, in his class, and so we were having that. So it's just, it was a cool time. But for me, it's like to venture away from that and kind of get lost in ball, and that's always the thing. It's the stuff that we're going to fight right now, because it's such a you think about the power that ball gives you. You think about the control that it gives you. You think about the blaming and the shaming opportunities that it gives you. It's a drug, really. And so to lose, to fall, to get lost in it, and then to come back to all the stuff that you were into before, and to find out that's really you is kind of cool.
When was the last time you lost your temper?
Long time. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time. I keep thinking maybe something will do it, but no, it hasn't. It hasn't happened. I don't know.
Is that part of what you've learned?
I think I was kind of
what you can control and all of.
I think I was kind of born that way, probably, and then, I just think. Typically, people. I was talking to someone about this the other day, where I think typically people like me, we get murdered before we get to this seat. We don't make it this far. We're kind of stomped and beaten to death on the side of the road, right, by others that are just more, forceful, assertive, quick to judgment, loud, powerful. And so I just think, to kind of take something that was kind of a weakness and try to show it as, there's power in weakness is, that's part of what this is.
Did any of your players read that article about you? And did anyone comment about it, that maybe they learned something about you that they maybe didn't know, or did you even get feedback?
I did not. Now, I've gotten some feedback on it from recruits and their families, but with our players, I have not.
How many hours of sleep on average do you get during football season compared to off season?
There's less in the season. I think during the off season, though, it's usually I'm up here pretty early too. And the difference is I'm usually getting shut-eye a little bit earlier in the off season. Where in season, you're kind of getting it on both ends. But I think that is generally for us early in the week, and we try to by Wednesday kind of tamper that down. And I think to keep coaches fresh and do all of it is a huge part of that, because I've felt that before, to where 4 or 5 cups of coffee before noon isn't ideal. And sometimes in the past, that's been the only thing kind of keeping you up. And so we try to build so the Sundays and the Mondays and the Tuesdays are kind of your days.
What do you enjoy more, practice or game day?
Practice. Yeah, I think, there you can see, I wouldn't say it's 100%, because the ball can bounce a bunch of funny ways, but you can tell if, the attitude's right, if things are hooked up right in practice, just by how you're attacking little things. Guys are running on the field, right? Guys that aren't getting reps are focused on the guy getting the reps. Guys are teaching other guys, right? Guys are the effort at the end of practice and the energy is greater than it was in the start. And so when you are like that, just that part, it's funny because I was who is it? There's a coach here visiting this past week, and we were talking about the time at Utah State, and I was there for a year, and we had a great season, and Gary Anderson was the head coach, he's a great friend. And he was telling me, he was asking me about memories, and I just told him, I remember that, I remember I was on the mayonnaise line. So we would, as coaches, we would make sandwiches for the players to eat. And I was like the mayonnaise guy the whole time I was there, so I knew where to go, and I did it. And then he asked me, what else do I remember? I go, we'd after games, we'd all go to Gary's house and hang out, and our wives would go, and there's a pool, and you'd hang out there too. But it was nothing with games. It was nothing. I couldn't remember.
Nothing about, yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and I think it's always that way. But I think when you're in it, your perspective gets so, you're looking out of a straw with the pressure and all of it, and so it's just kind of a natural thing.
One more thing about football. You have your defense that has this great front seven, the offense, obviously, with your offensive line and quarterback. How did you manage letting the offense get their legs under them and yet letting Coach Roberts and the defense do what all they want to do with their aggressive, the way they play the game?
Well, I appreciate that. I think it was great communication between Ron and Jeff. I think really working, and they did the work to communicate and to, hey, this is kind of where we're at. How do you feel about these blitzes? Yeah, this is great. Or, hey, we want to try to get some shot plays. We'd love it versus this coverage. Yeah, that's good. And just that type of communication. I think, so many times in practice, it can turn towards, it's me versus you. And, no one really gives a damn who won the third, day of fall camps, team period 2. No one remembers and no one cares. What we're trying to do is get guys better, and it's me with you, right? Getting you better, you getting me better. And we're both trying to beat what we did yesterday. And I think to see it that way in a longer view is sometimes difficult to do because of the training of the past. You kind of have to unlearn what you've learned.
Last question. You look out all this construction, built, growth, arms race in college football. Compare it to 2 years ago when there was the cloud of COVID, to last year to this year. What do you see? What do you see when you look out this window?
I see a becoming. I think I love driving in and seeing the Welcome Center. You can drive by and see where that basketball arena is going to be and just how cool that's going to be, just in downtown area. And then, I think just the symbol of just continuing to grow, continuing to improve. I think that's just a way cool thing, and that's I can see that everywhere I look.
Like your football team.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda, 365 Sports.
Holy cow, has it been a hot summer. You could fry an egg in the bed of a pickup truck. Jay here from Pickup Outfitters here to give you a little heat relief and some protection for your poor truck bed. August is bed cover month at Pickup Outfitters, and we're making it easy for you to cover up that hot bed on your truck with discounts of up to $200 plus matching rebates of up to $200 and double your warranty on many of those covers. That's up to $400 in discounts and rebates plus double your warranty on bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And you get our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance, which makes for a worry-free purchase. When's the last time you could say that about your bed, a truck bed? Get your poor bed some heat relief with a brand new bed cover, including name brands like Backflip, Undercover, X-Tang, Retrax, Roll and Lock, and Truxedo. Up to $400 in discounts and rebates with double your warranty. It's only at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer Jeweler joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
He is the head coach at UTSA and done a marvelous job there in San Antonio. Great friend of the show. Great friend of mine, Jeff Traylor, on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Are you different during a game week?
I hope not. I think it's natural just to feel the butterflies and the adrenaline and the emotion starting to come on as the game just gets closer. But I don't want my players to ever feel that way. We try to attack every day like it is game day, David. But, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say your sleep gets a little bit shorter, you're up a little quicker. But I think those are all good things because the Lord gives us that adrenaline for a reason. You're a little more focused in your meetings, a little more focused on your video, and maybe a little more irritable to house. I'd have to ask Care Bear about that.
Coach, as a Texan, coaching at a school in Texas, playing another school from Texas, and one with a great history like Houston the first week, what do matchups like this just mean to you personally that you get to be a part of it?
Well, as a fan and just a former high school football coach, you're just excited that somebody even let you in the door. I don't have to even buy a ticket, right? I get the best seat in the house. As a coach, it's a great test just to see where we are. You're playing a very good opponent right off the jump street, so you know about where your D-line is, your O-line, some kids you've recruited and developed, maybe some transfers. You just find out a little bit more. What's so uniquely different about college from the pro game and the high school game, in the high school game, we would have scrimmaged 2 weeks before we played our first game. In the National Football League, you get preseason games. In college, you just beat on each other since the last bowl game. So it's exciting to get out there and get to play one.
I've asked this question a lot to coaches for many years in college. Would you be for any kind of a scrimmage maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago in fall against another college team?
I would be for that. I don't know that I'd want to scrimmage as much as I would. Maybe if you could just get, somebody you have a relationship with to come in here, or we go there.
Yep.
And just thud it up. And you may just go scale, thud, or tag, and not even go to the ground. Just to have somebody different to go against. It's the same when you're a high school coach. If you could get one of your buddies that wanted to work with you, and you could get a really good scrimmage, those were a blast. Occasionally you got somebody that might not, they're trying to make it to Super Bowl and it didn't go so well on that Friday or Thursday night. But if you could get somebody that had a commonality and just trying to get better, I think it'd be a fantastic addition.
Would you like the NFL now, I think, values their joint practices even more than their preseason games.
Yeah, like the Cowboys were in L.A. against the Chargers. They did have a game with them at the end of the week, but those 2 or 3 days, it seemed to be like gold, like you were saying.
Well, just imagine how tired our kids are going through 15 spring practices, and you go through all your fall camp practices. And like I've said this, I look at my notes. I'm a big journal guy, right? I've been a head coach now for 18 years. For 18 straight years, about this time of year, I said the exact same thing to our team. We're not really ready to play anybody else per se, but we need to play somebody else because we're tired of each other. Our O-linemen and D-line are just sick and tired going against each other. And obviously we're going to have our mistakes Saturday, but we're excited to go out there and just put the ball down and go play a little football.
I want to ask you this. I'll never forget one time, right before a Big 12 Media Day, Matt Rule was asked to fill out or send in a depth chart for the the media days. And I think he was on a beach in Florida and just started scribbling things down on a napkin. How do coaches handle the depth chart differently? Is it almost like more of a fan thing than it is a coach thing?
It's really a pain in the tail, to be honest with you, because, it's just one of those things you don't want to have to deal with, but you got to deal with, and you just want to be nice to the media and help people out. You want to help your fans out, your boosters out. But if you probably ask coaches in private, I would imagine all of us would say we'd like to keep that stuff to ourselves and just show up and play the game. But I'm not going to have David Smoak on Smokey getting after me back in the day. I'm going to keep them all happy the best I can. And obviously, if you explain stuff to media, I think they're more patient with you. Like, look, I'm not going to release my starting quarterback because it gives me a distinct advantage. I think most media would cut that coach some slack. But it's just one of those necessary evils, in my opinion. Other than maybe my quarterback or something weird like that, David, I would go ahead and release it. That's just my personal opinion.
Is it also, though, because I do think now a lot of coaches don't think in this guy is second and third team. This, like, everything is matchup based, right? So you don't think of a guy as the third team running back. You think of him as he's going to play in this matchup, right?
Well, I just put a bunch of ors on mine, right? I mean, you just put an or and or and or and or, and then you've helped the media and you've told the truth too. With all my guys I have on mine, I'm just speaking for myself. Those are guys we plan on playing, and there's guys that are going to play that aren't even on we didn't even put on here. That I'm kind of curious why they're not on here. Honestly, probably because we didn't want to have 4 in the column, maybe 5 sometimes. We are very committed to doing that though. We're unique in that sense. Probably the high school coach in me. If you practice for us and we know you can help us, we're going to get you in a package and get you out there somehow the best we can.
You've had success there, and last year, of course, you guys as a program took it to another level. You had success immediately in high school at Gilmer, and that was turning around what kind of was a place that was on and off, Is there a thought that maybe you've had not too much success too early, but the standard now is set and it's going to be hard to match year in and year out?
Well, I've told you from learning from that experience, that was a great ride at Gilmer to go 6 wins and 8 wins and 10 and 13 and 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those next 10 years were an absolute grind because they wanted a state championship every single year. To your point, I'm afraid by hitting 12 already, which has only happened like 10 times in the history of the state of Texas, we probably set the bar way too high. And let's be honest, our first 3 opponents for the next 2 seasons, if you look at that, that's as daunting of a task as you could ever ask. And I've really talked to our players about we can't look at all 3 of those guys at once. We got to look at Houston. Let's get this one under our belt. Then we'll look at Army. Then we'll look at the University of Texas. But when you look at those 3, like bam, 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 we have a really good football team here, David. I don't know if our record's going to reflect it, but we've got a good football team.
If you were the AD, would you put that schedule together?
If I didn't know she gave me a 10-year contract, I think she was trying to get rid of me, to be honest with you. I would imagine that was done long before she got here.
Right.
These things are done so far in advance. But for us to play 2 Power 5 schools plus Army, that's pretty daunting, right? But, it's kind of like being the old high school coach in me again. I know no college guys want to ever say this, but they're non-conference ball games, right? When you have that ultra against Middle Tennessee, on the road, game 5, we're going to know where we are, and that's the one that matters the most, to be very honest with you.
What have you had to learn, and did you learn what you needed about your team in August?
Well, I mean, the coach talk is, yes, we've learned it all, right, because we're such geniuses as coaches. The truth is you really don't know till you go play the game, and there's just still stuff. I've said this forever, and it drives my coaches insane. The only reason you practice is so you can go screw it up in the game. And then when you get the game film, that's when you got to get a lot better. Game 1 to game 2 is such a great indication of how much better you are as a team, as a coaching staff. But I wish I could tell you I knew all the answers, David. I will say this. My first year, I knew no answers because I didn't have a spring and my team was totally new, right? Mm-hmm. Last year, I had 21 starters returning out of 22. I knew what I had going into that Illinois game. This year is more like a normal coach, right? You lost about 6 starters on defense. You lost Sincere McCormick, Spencer Burford on offense, a great tight end, Leroy Watson. I lost a great kicker in Hunter Duplessis. So this is more of a normal season where you don't quite know what you have for sure. But after we get to playing the Cougars Saturday at 6:30, 6 o'clock, whenever that game's over, we'll know a whole lot more where we are, David.
Jeff, your fan base loves UTSA, Birds Up, all that, what you've created there, the excitement in that town. To circle the wagon, so to speak, in your backyard. Can you try to explain, are they even better and more entrenched and focused on you than the program, than you thought it could be?
I'm a dreamer, David. From the outside looking in, when I was at the University of Texas, I thought this thing was a gold mine. I always loved coming to visit San Antonio. There's just so many things for recruiting advantages, I thought the Alamo was a tremendous advantage. And the fan base is starving for football. All we've got is the Spurs here. And there's just a good community. It just fits me. It's a very, very big city, obviously. It's the 7th largest city in the country. But it's got a small town feel. Everybody knows everybody here. It's just a good fit for Carrie and I and my family. And, I love this place. I really do. We love being in the hill country. And I love it. And there's no better way to describe it than just that's how I feel about this place, David.
Have you learned something about San Antonio, perhaps, that you didn't know when you first arrived?
Maybe I didn't know it was such a small town feel, but such a big city. That was probably different for me. I did anticipate the loyalty and the family aspect. I saw how they treated the Spurs for so many years and how good they were to those guys. So that's not been shocking to me at all. I didn't really realize how new the program was. I mean, you hear about it only being 10 or 11 years old, but when you start trying to build one, and you don't have the alumni base, the boosters that, for 100 years, right? That might have been something that was a little different for me, but man, we're picking up fans. It's why we were intentional going for the city of San Antonio. We want to be the team of San Antonio, not just the team of UTSA.
I don't know if it's the same answer for most coaches. I asked this to Dave Aranda earlier today. What does he like better, practice or game day? and he said practice. What do you like better?
When I was young, it was the game for sure. But now it's the preparation. It's the getting ready. It's just building a team. I will admit I love putting my headsets on because it's 4 hours of just peace and tranquility because I'm not getting bothered by a bunch of things I really don't want to do. Not that talking to David Smoak would ever be one of those things, but those other type of things you don't like to do during the week. Mm-hmm. So when you put those headsets on, it's just peace and you and your guys, and it's just a great, great, peaceful 4 hours, especially when your guys are celebrating in that locker room. There's nothing worse than going in that locker room, though, and seeing 110 young men just destroyed when you've worked that hard all week, David.
Last thing, Coach Jeff, good friend, great friend, and wish you the best, my man. Would you think that the headset discussion among coaches on the staff in the box, up above, or on the sideline would be a great reality show?
The best. The absolute best. I think it'd be a great fundraiser. I bet you could get 100,000 from some fan just to sit on one of those for one whole game. I would have to be a very, very trusted fan that I knew that I would get everything out of there. I'll tell this quick story and I'll let you go. Our very first game against Texas State, back when we were having COVID, we had we had to wear those things over our mouths. And I lost my temper once. And when, ESPN zoomed in on me pretty good. And we had just won in triple or double overtime, whatever it was, David. As soon as the game's over, my mother, a long text, that if you're going to talk like that on the sideline, put your mask back over your mouth because you embarrassed your mother and your father. So I don't know that we'd want everybody to know exactly what's being said, but it'd be a great, great show, David.
It's like NASCAR fans. They have the headsets where they can hear the pit crew and the driver and all that. I don't know if that would be something that you probably have to put that up on YouTube. I don't think that could be on TV or radio, but I just thought that would be that to me would be something I'd love to listen to.
David, you were so innovative and starting Smokey all those years ago. You might be onto something again.
Hey, man, and you're innovative with what you're doing. Appreciate you during the game week. I really do. Thanks very much, buddy, for being a part of the show. Good luck.
You're the best.
Thank you.
For many years. Appreciate you, David. God bless. Birds up.
There you go. Jeff Traylor, head coach at UTSA. And last year, 12 wins. Did you hear that nugget he mentioned that in the state of Texas, college football history, there has only been like 10 or 12 teams to get to 12 wins. I don't know if that's at the Division I level or what is now the FBS level, because there's obviously Mary Hardin. Baylor's ripped off double digits to 10 or 12, whatever, 13, whatever they've done many times, national championships. But there's Jeff Traylor on game week against Houston in a great game. One of the bangers this week. We appreciate his time. Thanks to Mr. Stevens as well, Media Relations, for getting that done. We'll have Joey McGuire in a couple of days. When we come back, he covers Georgia. He did spend time out in Eugene with Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach who used to be a part of that Georgia staff when they won the national title and before. Chip Towers next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Behind the bank, a hidden gem. I say behind the bank because Google Maps has apparently not moved them across the street from where they used to be. So if you're looking on Google Maps and you drive over to an empty lot, know that I'm not just sitting there waiting to jump out of the bushes and prank you and go, I got you. It is across the street. And they've got wonderful customer service. They've got the best selection of locally sourced Texas whiskeys out there, whether it's Balcones, TX, Devil's River, Garrison Brothers, all that is there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Also, best selection of craft beers. Look, Baylor has got the first game this weekend. You want to go get something for your tailgate that's not just kind of your run-of-the-mill stuff, some different craft beers. We'll go there. They've got a great selection, and they'll turn that over for the fall here coming up pretty soon. It's almost September, which means those fall beers are coming. Great customer service, a great drive-through window. You will not believe how fast they get you your stuff, and they're just knowledgeable about everything. Great promotions, whether it comes to spirits, beer, seltzer, any of that stuff. They've got great deals all the time. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street. Find out more on Instagram.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
Thanks to Dave Aranda, Jeff Traylor, back-to-back segments here on 365 Sports with head football coaches. We'll hear from Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution here momentarily. At the top of the 5 o'clock hour, Travis Roeder, a part of our staff football analyst, will join us. And we're now joined by Chip Towers. Again, it's Oregon and it's Georgia. How ironic, Chip, is it that those two are starting the year off after Alani moves to Oregon?
I'm sorry, I had a bad connection there. Can you ask me that again?
Chip, how ironic is it that Dan Lanning is starting off his head coaching career against where he came from?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's crazy. It really is wild how things work out. I got a chance to go out there and visit with Dan earlier this summer, and he said, oh, yeah, he knew as soon as he really interviewed for the Oregon position. I mean, he obviously knew that Georgia would be playing him, and I certainly don't think that's the reason that Oregon hired Dan Lanning was for this first game. Dan Lanning, if you know anything about him, I mean, I really think he's an impressive guy, and the combination of being young and energetic, bright when it comes to X's and O's, and engaging as a public persona and as a recruiter, I think he's going to have the Ducks, competing at the highest level really quick. But the fact that, his first game out of the chute, not only is against Georgia, but Oregon's got to come 3,000 miles or whatever it is and play in Atlanta. I think they sold out their 6,000 tickets, but Mercedes-Benz Stadium seats 73,000. I would imagine most of the other 67 are going to be filled with Georgia fans. So it's a tall task, but I tell you what, I wouldn't count them out. They have a lot of transfers, and they're good up front, offensive and defensive lines. And last time I checked, that matters in football.
Chip, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you travel out to Eugene and spend a couple of days out there and do a feature on him?
I did. I went out there early in the camp. I caught him right on the end of that. It might have even been the first week, or right at the beginning of the second week. And, it was great because he did give me some time, some one-on-one time. I was laughing with another writer earlier today. I said, I've had more sit-down one-on-ones now with Dan Lanning than I have with Kirby Smart in 7 years. So I like him, right? But, yeah, I went out there just to kind of, get a picture of the scene. I'd been to Oregon before, but I'd never been to Eugene. I've been to Portland. And, man, it's beautiful. And you can definitely see the full influence of, Phil Knight, Nike money everywhere around there. And that's what I say. I mean, that's a real Lamborghini, the way that thing is built. And so it's just a matter. We've seen it from Oregon before, but it's really just a matter of getting somebody to sustain and stay there. And 36-year-old Dan Lanning, married with 3 young children, he says he wants to stay there as long as he possibly can. And so look out. I mean, and listen, he's got the template that they used at Georgia, which is the same template that they used at Alabama. He spent a year as a defensive analyst at Alabama. So, he's taken, that winning style, that winning profile out there with him and applying it to the Ducks, much in the way Mario Cristobal was doing. But, again, he's the guy that he's not looking to go somewhere else. This is a big, really fortuitous first job for anybody as a head coach. And I think he's going to make a good go of it out there.
Chip, Bo Nix is the quarterback for Oregon. He has seen Georgia before. He's seen the SEC before. I know that Bo Nix is kind of the ultimate feast or famine guy when it came to his time at Auburn. But is that, I don't want to say an advantage, but something that kind of can stand in Oregon's corner if they hope to upset the Bulldogs?
Well, now, are you sure it's going to be Bo Nix? Because, Lanning won't say it, right?
Yeah.
He won't announce the starter, but it's silly. Actually, Kirby said it today. He said, I know who the quarterback's going to be. I'm not worried about that. And when you put it out there, I mean, Bo Nix, a 38-game starter at Auburn, the other 2 guys combined, a redshirt freshman who played in 4 games as backups in mop-up duty. So, of course it's going to be Bo Nix. And, Bo Nix is, of course, 0-3 against Georgia. They know him well. Talked to Nolan Smith and Christopher Smith and several players today about him. But if you look closely at those games against Auburn, really it wasn't Bo Nix's fault. When Georgia played over there his freshman year, they actually led 21-0 in the fourth quarter, and Bo Nix almost brought them back. Georgia held on to win 21-14. That was as a freshman signal caller. And then the next 2 years, Georgia blew them out. And it was really more of it was really a no contest. The last 2 games, it really didn't have anything to do with what Bo Nix did. I actually broke it down. I happen to have it in front of me right here. He's passed for 639 yards on 56% completion percentage with a TD and 2 interceptions against Georgia. And he has 34 yards rushing, and I think maybe another TD, or maybe he didn't score on the ground. But anyway, it hadn't been because of Bo Nix that they lost. And look, for Oregon, I mean, this is a mobile guy. They have a really good offensive line. I mean, 9 of the top 10 have played there before or started at some time before on their offensive line, and they're pretty good. In defense, particularly in the middle. They're two linebackers, Noah Sewell and Justin Flo, Sewell or Sewell, I think it's pronounced. Georgia recruited both of those guys. I mean, they got beat by Oregon for both those guys. Now, they were West Coasters. I believe they were trying to bring back this way, but, Georgia's been kind of linebacker U here these past couple of years. So the fact that they were after those guys who are, veteran leaders on that defense tells you they're going to be pretty stout. So a couple of tough matchups for Georgia. I've seen this line at 16, 17, 18, and, I'm like, wow, that's, I'm not a gambler, but that's a big number. I'll just say that.
Chip, does Stetson Bennett ever have to buy anything ever again in the state of Georgia?
Never, particularly South Georgia. He can get south of the city and stop at any little corner store and go in and pick up anything he wants. And yeah, it was fun to get a chance to talk to him again today. He was very engaging. We haven't talked to him since SEC Media Days. He is undisputed as QB1. And listen, that's never happened. He's never had that luxury in his career. Now a 6-year senior, and there's a lot to be said for that. Number one, in taking over last year and obviously leading Georgia to the national championship, Todd Monken learned some things about Stetson Bennett, about how he runs the RPO game and the things that you can do with him that they weren't really set up to do before when JT Daniels was going to be the quarterback. Fast forward a year later, and those two guys have been able to work together. And Stetson Bennett, having already graduated and working on a graduate degree, I mean, he's got a doctorate at this point in Todd Monken's offense. And so, working together with Todd Monken, throwing to the first team receivers and working with the first team backs behind the first team line, the entire 8 months since the national championship has got to bode for something. And actually, we found out today he's actually gotten fast. I mean, he's gotten stronger and faster, too. You forget this is not a static game. If you keep working out and keep doing those things. So supposedly, according to everybody involved, he's actually faster in terms of his GPS numbers, how fast he's running on the field. And he's certainly going to be quicker in terms of reads and what they're trying to do offensively. So I think having Stetson Bennett back under center is a big deal for Georgia this season.
Where do you think that they will suffer the most attrition? Because you win a national championship game, guys are going to jump. Even guys that maybe could stay another year and be higher draft picks are going to jump. You have, programs like that don't necessarily get gutted, but it is, you look around and you go, man, there's a bunch of new starters here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that, the national narrative in this case is accurate. There's got to be some drop off on defense, right? Now it's all relative. Last year was a historic, some call generational defense, especially in the RPO fast break era. For Georgia to limit opponents to 10.2 points a game and just have the kind of defensive dominance they did last year. 5 of those guys went in the first round. 8 of those guys were drafted. There's got to be some drop off, and in particular, where I think you'll see at least some early growth pains is going to be at inside linebacker. Now, don't misunderstand me. I mean, I think Jamon Dumas Johnson, they call him Pop, is a great player at inside linebacker, and Xavier Sori, the other guy they brought in, he's a 5-star. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school that couldn't play. Wasn't able to play a whole lot last year because of the 3 guys Georgia had in there. And you look at it, just go back and look if you get a chance at Georgia playing defense last year and see what all those linebackers did. And I'm not talking about the tackles. I mean, they combined for 400-something tackles or whatever it was. The 3 of them, maybe that's their career, but I seem to remember that number. But those 3 linebackers, Georgia ran a very sophisticated defense where you never knew where the pressure was coming from. And Nakobe Dean, an engineering major, by the way, is in there in the middle, calling all kinds of shots, and they're bringing pressure from different places. And checking out of stuff, and Georgia has a lot of defensive movement in the line, and you're going to have new linemen down there. I mean, that's significant stuff, especially in a first game. So that's where I think Oregon, with a really veteran offensive line that's not going to be fooled by a lot of the eye candy stuff, and going to be able to stand up with that and provide some time for Bo Nix and possibly some run game. Those linebackers could be in for a long day. Now, that said, this was not a surprise to Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. I mean, all those guys that went into the NFL, they probably would have gone to the NFL anyway. I mean, a few of the underclassmen went earlier than you would expect it, but I mean, Trayvon Walker was always going to turn pro. Jordan Davis was always going to turn pro. And so they've recruited for this moment, and it's still Kirby Smart's defense. As much as Dan Lanning, sort of called the shots the last couple of years, it's still Kirby Smart's philosophy, Kirby Smart's defense. And, these guys are better. They're going to be better than really probably, unless they get to the SEC championship game against Alabama. I think Georgia will have better overall pedigree with personnel defensively and everybody they play.
Chip, it's here. It's time. They defend their championship starting this week with a hell of a game, as you mentioned, against Oregon. We appreciate your time. Always appreciate the knowledge and insight with Georgia. Appreciate it, and have a great day.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Chip Towers, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, on Georgia, the defending national champions, after such a long, long drought. Times they would knock it on the door since 1980, and they did it last year, and they did it emphatically in the championship game. When we come back, Travis Roeder, he covers Baylor, breaks down quite a bit of the X's and O's. In fact, he asked me if I could sneak in. I asked him, hey, give me a question for Aranda. I'll try to get him to answer it during the one-on-one. He breaks it down for Baylor as they open up. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. As we head into football season, of course, there are new deals for cars and SUVs and trucks and much, much more. And I'm about to give you a couple of them here in just a moment. One thing I know about what Ted Teague and his staff have are tremendous dealer discounts. And in fact, I just received a note from earlier in the day that the dealer discounts that have been going on throughout the month of, August, will now go all the way until September the 6th. So right now you have tremendous deals, including save big on the Series 2 and 3 purchase of the Wagoneer, the 2022 Wagoneer. You get 2.9% for 72 months. Save big on the Series 2 and 3. Get the low APR of 2.9% for 72 months, plus take advantage of $3,500 in Conquest bonus cash. First responder, an extra $500 off as well. Oh, looking for a great selection of new cars, trucks, and SUVs? Alan Samuels has it. You can take your pick, a new 2022 Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger, and receive 0% for 72 months. No payment for 90 days. A first responder, again, you get $500 off your purchase. So those are just a couple of the deals that they have. Other dealer discounts available as well. The 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star values up to $7,000 or 2.9% financing for 72 months. Get $2,500 in bonus cash, no payments for 90 days. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
And interesting fake and work. It's a touchdown to Ben Sims. Just love the poise of this young quarterback.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
We're now joined by Travis Roeder, Sick'em 365 football analyst. He's going to join us on Mondays just after 5 o'clock and break down what we saw the weekend before and also a couple of notes from what he looks at in his perspective. And Travis with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Craig's back, David Smoak. Craig's back with us tomorrow. Travis, thanks for your time. You asked me to ask Dave Aranda about how did they mix letting the offense get their legs underneath of them and yet also allow the defense with Ron Roberts and what they do. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to even listen to his answer yet.
Yeah, I got about, I guess I must have just not gotten to it, so I was able to listen to about the first half or so. I guess you were able to ask him that. Yeah, I did, and he said good. You know, he says this a lot to anybody, but I appreciate it. He said good question. But I'll let you dig into that if for anything you're going to do maybe later in the week. But do you think that that's kind of like let Roberts and his defense do their thing, but also make sure you don't overwhelm some of the younger players on offense? Is that what it's about? Yes, sir. Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. No, I was really hoping we'd get to talk to Nebraska to see what's going on. You don't want to talk about what happened last week?
No. We have, and now I know what it was like to be a Baylor fan for so many years.
Oh, it is messing with you. So as to your question about kind of balancing, letting the offense get their feet underneath them versus kind of letting the defense cook. I mean, I just think that's the most fascinating aspect of what head coaches have to do is to how to manage a program. And it's, as I talked about last time, there's really no programs out there that can build consistent top 10 defenses and top 10 offenses because you really have to prioritize what you want to do in practice. And so I think that's just a really interesting question because I think this staff feels really good. And I know I certainly do about this, kind of really being a top 10 defense, being better than last year's defense. I've been kind of gone out on a limb and said that, but I feel very confident in that. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the level of moxie, the level of confidence, the level of assuredness that defense is playing with. And so where I think the defense kind of is right now is the defense has their legs underneath them. They're really confident in what they're doing. It's important to remember they've been under Dave and Ron Roberts for this is their third year now, whereas it's just the second year for the offense under Jeff Traylor, right? And so I think they really were kind of asserting themselves. They're kind of almost putting together the final touches on what they want to do defensively. And so that's kind of that's really kind of towing the line there. Do you want to kind of just let your defense kind of go all the way out and kind of do every little, add every new wrinkle to the system, or do you want to kind of prioritize letting your offense execute against kind of more vanilla looks defensively? I think the answer to that probably, I'm interested to hear Aranda's answer, is you got to do a bit of both. You got to give your offense some chance to set their foot in the ground, but if you're going to hang your hat on defense all year, you better make sure that they're prepared in fall camp too.
Travis, just looking at the depth chart at wide receiver, I would say some pleasant surprises based on their recruiting rankings that guys are stepping in, particularly Seth Jones and Hal Presley, getting those. I mean, whatever it means on the depth chart, that is a lot of or first team nods.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to see Seth get that job. Obviously that job being he's going to start this week. Kind of reevaluate it every week, right? But he's ahead of Josh Cameron, and I think we saw this spring, and we know from everything we've heard about Josh Cameron, the former walk-on, what he brings to the table. And given his level of work ethic and the way he's kind of worked himself up into being a legitimate, 2D player coming from just being a walk-on a year ago, that Josh didn't lose this job. He was playing well. He's doing his thing. So what that tells me is that Seth really won this job. And Seth Jones out of Shadow Creek is, you watch that high school film and you just think, the sky is the limit for this dude. He's an athletic freak. He doesn't have the biggest size in the world. He's kind of like 5'11". But my comparison, I went back and when I did his recruit evaluation like 3 years ago, I compared him to Tylan Wallace, who was the Oklahoma State receiver back then, because they're both 5'11" guys who just play much bigger than their listed size. They kind of have all around games. So as you said, not a lot of experience, but again, like I said, that Seth wouldn't have gotten that job if it was everyone was playing poorly, and then they're like, oh, well, let's just go with Seth. What that really tells me with him kind of getting that nod over Josh Cameron is that he must have played really, really well. I know in a few of the clips they've released over the last month of fall camp, there's some clips of Seth making some ridiculous plays. So I'm excited about that because I think Baylor needs at least one wide receiver this year who they can hang their hat on to make some plays for him. And so I think Seth's a great candidate for that.
Sometimes when players like Tyquan Thornton leave, or even R.J. Sneed transfers to Colorado, the defensive backs who, of course, moved on, or Bernard at linebacker, et cetera, it's like those are tons and tons of starts and experience. Yep. But isn't a team or a program that's real able to just have that next person up? I don't know if they're there yet, but do you feel like they're close to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of ability and production that only can be bought with experience, right? So there's really no such thing as a player coming in and instantly being as good as the guy before him, unless he was better all along, right? And so I think that's really where the development curve comes in, where I think, especially for the take Terrell's position this year, Is Matt Jones going to be playing as well in game 2 as Terrell Bernard was playing in the Sugar Bowl last year? Absolutely not. There's just no chance of that. But what I think you see great programs do, and I think this is what you were alluding to, Smokey, is they're able to engender and generate a level of organizational buy-in that kids are bought in from essentially day one on campus. This is what guys like Nick Saban and stuff have been so good at. It's not just that Nick Saban recruits the best players. It's that he's able to have a true freshman and a redshirt freshman go through a walkthrough and not be thinking about, what girl they're going to go out with later that night. They're thinking about, okay, in 2 years, I know I'm not starting right now, but in 2 years, this is going to be me. And all this preparation, all this mental preparation I'm putting in right now is going to help me in the future. And that is the kind of, mental reps. If you've listened to Dave Aranda talk before in coaching clinics, he talks about the importance of establishing the importance of everything you do. And walkthroughs are one of those things he talks about. He's like, you can't allow these young guys' minds to wander because eventually you're going to need them. And so I think that's when you see this year when Baylor's relying on guys now who were backups last year, if they were fully bought in last year, that's where it pays off now.
Were there any surprises to you on the depth chart other than what we've already talked about?
Nothing majorly surprising. I was really happy, and I don't mean this against Mose Jeffrey at left guard, but I was happy to see that Micah Mazzucca, I don't know how to say his last name.
Like Bazooka.
Mazzucca.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I was really happy to see him win that left guard job, and it's really because he might be the most impressive offensive lineman Baylor has. Definitely of like the interior guys, talking the 2 guard positions in the center. He's not as good as it gets. He's got an NFL body, NFL athleticism. For him, it's just always been a question of consistency. I mean, he's only a redshirt freshman now this year, I think, or I guess he would be a sophomore. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's a young guy, and consistency has been his bugaboo. But physically, just a total freak. And I think when you look at guys like Connor Galvin, Jacob Gall, Grant Miller, these guys are all very, very good offensive linemen. But when you think about their best strengths, I don't think you would say power for any of them. And so I think what Micah gives them at left guard is an ability to truly kind of move the pile, get some movement off the snap. Again, that's not all those other 3 guys I just named are terrific offensive linemen who could all be all conference linemen. Obviously, Connor Galvin is the returning Big 12 offensive lineman of the year. He's very, very good. But I think Micah gives them kind of another dimension of power that they didn't have last year at that position. And Baylor's going to be relying on their running game a lot this year. And so that was a pretty exciting one for me to see. Otherwise, no real big surprises. And what I liked about that Mazzucca position, him winning that left guard spot, is there was no war. So I know him and Mose were rotating a lot early this camp, but it seems like Mike has done a really good job of solidifying himself there.
Travis, when the game kicks off, and Baylor's a heavy favorite against Albany, but when the game kicks off, where are you going to look for something that you need to see? Where is it going to be?
That's a terrific question, Sophie. I was actually just texting with a couple of my buddies about that yesterday. I said in 2020, what I remember about that first game against Kansas is that within about a quarter, we were all just like, oh my God, Jalen Petrie is just incredible. Where did this come from? Like, his athleticism was just popping all over the field. And obviously last year they opened at Texas State, so it was a little bit harder to pop. But I would think a big impression we got from that first game was that this offense was a lot more competent than we might have otherwise assumed, and that Gary looked like a pretty good quarterback. And so I'm really curious I think in this first game, stats don't mean anything. Like, Chapin's going to throw for, whether he throws for 200 yards or 350 yards, like, it doesn't matter. And honestly, really how the team performs overall, like total points and all that kind of stuff, doesn't really matter to me. My friend my podcast mate, Jeff Davis, shared a great quote from Mac Brown, who said, when you play a bad team, you can only learn 2 things. You either learn that you're also bad, or that you learn that you might not be bad. And so, the overall quality of the team is not something you're really going to get out of a game like this. But what you will get is we can say, wow, Al Walcott, he looks just like Jalen Petrie. He's making plays all over the field. Or Matt Jones is a difference maker. I think you really look for those kind of individual players to pop that you can hang your hat on for the rest of the season, because individual ability is really what shines through here. Don't tell that to the players before the game. That's like the worst thing they could be thinking about in a football game. But that's kind of what I'll have my eyes on there for guys stepping into new positions and who's popping. It looks like they've really grown since last year.
Good stuff, Travis. Look forward to having you Mondays. We'll have some evidence. I know that it's a game that Baylor's supposed to do, what they want, you would think, but you never know. And the good news, again, is there's evidence. There's film, and we'll be able to kind of break that down with you. Look forward to it. Thanks for your time every Monday.
Thank you, Smokey.
All right, that's Travis Roeder, Sikkim 365 football analyst. Next segment will be David Hellman and the Cowboys. But it was, I guess, last Thursday or whenever, Brian Fonville put together a video. It was a hype video. And there's a bunch of them out there, and I think they're pretty cool. I always like the music. I like the really hard banging, thumping type music when it comes to hype videos. But he did a hype video, and I never even realized this. And all of a sudden I went, wait a minute. It's an interview with Dave Aranda that I thought was like with Sirius XM or with the Big 12 Radio Network, which is the same thing, or maybe even with someone else. And it was actually, the early part was a question that I asked him. But in only the way that Dave Aranda can answer questions. Paul, you were in Hawaii and kind of for a big deal.
Yeah, I've had no regrets about missing that time.
Well, yeah, you probably did because this is so good. No, it
wasn't that good.
It's just the question. And in Aranda, but the way Brian Fonville was able to the way he handled Aranda's answers with the music, with the pauses, with the video, and here it is. What's easier, getting there to the top of the mountain in the case of winning the Sugar Bowl, the Big 12 championship, or keeping it and staying there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're both difficult.
Can you take me higher?
You're almost coming from two different ways to the same thing. One you're, the emperor has no clothes. The other way, it's like, get the crown off my head and get all this, and I need to live a life of poverty.
This year, though, preseason, you can't disagree with that. It's the most hype this team has had. It is the first time that Baylor's been ranked in the preseason top 25 in the Coaches Bowl since 2016. The sky's the limit, obviously, for that.
Can we stay? Can we stay?
Running left, trying to get to the corner.
All right, that's from Brian Fonville.
I'll tell you, the first thing that jumps off is that they took a Creed song and made it not suck. So,
well, you know what? But it's the beat, it's the heaviness of it. It's kind of dark. And yeah, I know you don't like Creed. What was the one? What was the one song they had?
They're from Tallahassee Higher. That's the one.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was awesome, and it's not because, but I like the way he answered a question about what's easier to get there or sustain it, and he wants to get into the emperor's clothes and all that and the crown, the only way he can.
It's really good.
As Wet Blanket said, he's a silent assassin.
Hey, I have to admit something here. I will make fun of Creed, but I also bought tickets to see them in Tallahassee because they're from Tallahassee when I was in school, and they were popular because, chicks. So...
A girl asked you to go to the concert?
Oh, no,
with
we
you?
just knew there were going to be girls there.
Yeah.
And then, at the time, they didn't know any better. We were also listening to Limp Bizkit. It was a rough time for all of us.
Yeah, Paxton, Creed gets too much hate. Creed, better than The Abomination. That they were just phony as hell, and that music was lame from Stubby. David, we need to get you to an actual heavy music show. Oh, I know the heavy metal and Metallica and all that. I one of the things that I do love, and Elton John's my favorite performer as far as music for over, as far as my lifetime, but I can go from listening to heavy metal to rhythm and blues to rock to what I really, now the country is on occasion. I'm not as much into that.
I have, as I've gotten older, if you're a good performer, I will get into it. There was a time when if I was in my 20s and Lady Gaga came out, I'd be like, shut up. But when you see Lady Gaga just go, and then of course I really love A Star Is Born, but if you see her go, I respect the game. Me and Taylor Swift, man.
Yeah.
Look, I shouldn't like Taylor Swift. I'm a 42-year-old man, but I got to tell you, some of that
you
stuff
like her music?
slaps. Yes.
From J.A., heck, I like Baylor's hype video more than ours. Rap one. I like the rap hype video. Creed is still better than 99% of today's music output. Paxton, laugh out loud, Paul. Baylor football is my own prison from Ramiro.
Well, there's a Creed.
Yeah. The Creed guy took the wrong pills. What is that? Is that something I shouldn't have brought up?
No, he's very much alive.
I'm just happy Baylor kept OU from winning the conference. Baylor had their 15 minutes. Come sit down, Arlo. There a lot of you are responding to it, but appreciate that.
Look,
and Brian Fonville, thanks for giving us the clearance to run the video.
I'll tell you this: if you've got a hype video for your favorite team, send it along.
Yeah,
if it's
we may
good,
do that. That was awesome.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, really, if you want to, send it to us.
Jack's about to drop one on our site, right, Jack?
254-339-1122. We'll run it no matter whose program it is. If it's from you, and also we have clearance to run it, we will. So that's not heavy music at all? Was that?
No, that was.
It seemed
that was
dark.
That was like a remixed version of Higher, which you wouldn't have called. Maybe in the late '90s, but you wouldn't have called Creed heavy.
But in that, the way that one was played.
No.
Okay. All right.
It was,
RH5, I made a Baylor hype video the other day. RH5, text it to us, 254-339-1122, or send it to me on Twitter if you want, at David Smoak. I'm more Pearl Jam from John Baptist. ZZ Top. Let's see. Fred Durst, who's that?
He's the lead singer of Limp Bizkit.
Is the greatest of all time.
I admire people who have such low standards that they don't really have to have that thought exercise of who's the greatest. But
from Jacob DS50, Dave has a natural voice for radio. No shock they used his question for this. And Bon Jovi, somebody popped in the Mozart for the win.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: if you went to a keg party in 1999, 2000 in Tallahassee, there was a good chance that you were going to walk in to Ba by Kid Rock, into Limp Bizkit, into Higher by Creed within about 8 to 10 minutes. That was the first three songs, with maybe Nelly mixed in there.
Okay,
but
aren't you a Nickelback fan too?
I am not.
I didn't think so. Somebody brought that up. They said they're Canadian, and I apologize. Rocklahoma this weekend from Biscuits.
Oh, that's the hairband thing, right?
Yeah, RH5. Wait a minute. Nickelback is underrated.
Some people think so. I disagree.
Beer Smoker 4444. Smokey, you and I could talk music all day. I'm not real good about titles and sometimes recognizing the bands. I could throw it out there, but I really can listen to 8 or 9. Is it What genre is that? What would be? Yeah,
genres,
I can. I can really listen to 5. Go from one to the other to the other. Rat Scorpions, Motley Crue from Paxton.
Rat Scorpions and Motley. Are they playing? I bet you they're probably playing at Rocklahoma.
Yeah. There's some people. Her name is a Queen song. Can't hate for too much. Check out Oregon's hype videos. Let's see here. Paul must be around my age. Everyone liked Creed in the late 90s, but they suck.
Yeah, it was a confusing time for all of us. I admit I got caught up in it. They were from Tallahassee, so we all thought like, oh, this is awesome. This is a band making it. Now, Yellow Card was a rock band that was also there, and I knew those guys a little bit. They were better than Creed, I thought, but that just depends on your taste of rock.
Did Creed make a bunch of money though for that one?
Oh gosh, yeah.
From Arlo 220, doesn't that Creed dude sing like someone is standing on his throat?
Yeah.
I can't. There's all the Beatles. Lou Gramm. Foreigner. Lou Gramm is Foreigner. And see, now you're getting into Foreigner, Styx, Kansas. I mean, to me, man, Boston.
Yeah. See, I appreciate your era of rock music maybe a little
Journey.
bit better than mine, because you had like those bands like really brought it, and then sometimes you have some that don't. Some that, like you were that like I kind of maybe respect the pre-MTV generation a little bit more, just because sometimes you would hear songs, especially in that era, and be like, they're doing this just for the music video. Like, that's just how it was. But
yeah, I really can. And again, I'm not very good about naming the songs or whatever, but I think I grew up in a great time because I was able to see early on, like even it was the Beatles were still. I mean, I'm born in 1959, so I went through a pretty good run of 30 years or so of great music, and then it got crazy, and when I'm in a mode where I have to get ready for a weekend or do a lot of stats and stuff in my website, I'll get Alexa to play like Journey, Foreigner, Styx, Boston, Kansas, and just let it rip.
Yeah, that's a good.
Let it rip, and no TV, nothing. All right, when we come back, David Hellman, who covers the Cowboys. Thanks for a lot of the feedback on the music. And some of you, I mean, great stuff. So you were not a fan of Korn, Paul? Okay.
I don't. They were kind of weird to me. Their whole aesthetic.
See, and then I had the part where you even had back in the day of growing up, you had Earth, Wind, and Fire, and had some great different type of stuff. It was incredible.
I mean, look, you were Elvis and John Lennon were still alive when you were a kid. So like you had and like Sinatra, like all that was all around. So like you had maybe
Chicago.
Even you have maybe like all these different things coming, and then by the time I was in college, everything had been kind of filtered into these genres, and we had stars. My favorite band's the Foo Fighters, that. But I would say my second favorite musical act is Jimmy Buffett. So I'm all over the map.
Genesis, Motley Crue, Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water.
Oh, that's a good song.
With one of the great songs of all time.
John Baptist, Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah, that was my jam back in the day.
Yep. All right. Alice in Chains is from Juan M. Thank you very much. All right. When we come back, we'll get into the Cowboys and David Hellman and more. It's 531 Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ideal Rush. Tom Sawyer. Great song. Absolutely great song. All right. Ideal MRI. .com. From day one, they have been with us. April the 6th of 2020, like so many others, when we launched this show into what we didn't know. And man, what a great run it's been. And Rob Maxey, Dr. Maxey, and his contacted me before we ever went on the air. I want to be a part of it. We want it. What can you offer? And I said, really, right now, anything. And from day one, they've been a major part, a title sponsor of what we do on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. They are in the Central Texas marketplace in the southern part of Waco, off of 35 and Highway 6, the loop on the exit. Been inside their MRI machine 3 times, one for my right shoulder, one for my abdomen, and then again, when I started to have kind of a feeling of a hook, like in a muscle or whatever it might have been in my right hip buttocks. And so I had an MRI on my lower back. $497 every single time and sometimes less. Told you the story about the women who needed their particular MRIs, and it was going to cost one $2,000, another one $1,600, and both of them under $497 because of what they were able to get, what they were able to also get because of their insurance. IdealMRI.com. If you have a doctor that wants an MRI of something that's been hurting you and you've talked about it with him or her, and they say they want an MRI, you tell them, what about Ideal MRI? They'll know. It's absolutely fantastic how much money you can save. And then on top of that, their MRI machine is as good as anything that you can imagine and get you what you need, get it quickly to you, get it to your doctor as well in a portal. It's IdealMRI.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
We kind of call ourselves the Wedding Ring Store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
First and goal. He's found 5 different targets. He's going to hand it off. It's Pollard, and he's across for the Dallas touchdown.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of FoxSports.com.
All right, NFL season not quite ready, getting closer. and teams starting to make decisions and much more. Mondays at 5:30, we have David Hellman from Fox Sports on the Cowboys in the NFL.
David, what are they going to do about the tackle position? Because we're ill-prepared for this. Seemingly, it shocks me given how Tyron Smith's injury history has been that they're still not ready for this.
Well, their spin is that they are ready for it because they drafted Tyler Smith. Now, whether I think you should believe that, not really when the guy spent all of training camp playing left guard. But they did see him as a potential tackle, and he's going to get a chance to do it a lot sooner than anybody thought. So they've got roughly 2 weeks to get him ready. So I think Tyler Smith is going to start at left tackle, and I think they're going to be working the phones here in the next 48 hours. I think I already saw some speculation that they were inquiring about some tackle depth in a trade. So minor trade to get an experienced veteran or maybe a waiver claim. But I think Tyler Smith is going to start. And, like I said, maybe you get a guy who's got a few years under his belt to come in and be the swing tackle because I don't think the youngsters they have behind Tyler Smith are ready for that role at all.
What does Tyler Smith, based on what you've seen so far, what does he do that can be good at left tackle, or what will be the concerns other than inexperience?
Well, I mean, it's so much more than inexperience because when you say a guy's inexperienced, he's raw. He's got so much to learn from a technique standpoint. I mean, you've seen it all through this preseason. When he gets off balance, he gets grabby. He was called for holding 2 or 3 times in 2 preseason appearances. He's going to be facing guys that have counter moves built on top of their pass rush moves. And so that's what you worry about. I mean, it's not just that he hasn't done it. It's that I think guys can take advantage of that. I will say he's an incredibly powerful guy. I think the Cowboys will be able to run the ball to his side fairly effectively. But yeah, I just think he's going to take his licks from these NFL caliber pass rushers that have done this for a high level for a long time.
David, I was wondering just about their organizational philosophy, which sometimes works out for them, sometimes doesn't. They haven't been to a Super Bowl, so it hasn't worked out the way they wanted to in a very long time. But with wide receiver, like waiting and seeing, to me, makes a lot more sense than it does at tackle. And I would think that given the way that things have gone for them when Tyron Smith is out of games, that would just be kind of even just to stop any kind of panic they would have, a move they would make every season to make sure it was solidified, and they've never really done that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer for you, Paul, because I agree with you. I mean, and I will say they have typically gone out and gotten a guy who had started in the NFL. Like, I would say for the last 5 years, they've had a swing tackle who has 20, 30 or more starts under his belt. Now, it's not usually a great player, but guess what? There's 64 starting tackle spots in the NFL, and there aren't 64 solid starting tackles. So do the math on what that means for your number 3 tackles. So it's never been a very good player, but it's always been a very experienced player. And that is the thing that kind of confuses me is they said at the very get-go this spring that they weren't going to do that they were going to lean on their young draft picks, Josh Ball and Matt Waletzko. And then obviously the fact that Tyler Smith has some tackle ability. I never thought that was good enough. I don't know how you trust guys that have never played in the NFL to step in when you know that your starting left tackle is probably going to miss time. So I always thought it was weird. This is why. So hopefully it works out a lot better for them than what I was imagining in the spring.
Well, they got to move on. The schedule doesn't change. Games start to come around the corner. And then I have reflected back, David, at what they used to have. Tyron Smith at left tackle. Obviously, they had Frederick at center. Martin, a great player at guard. Frederick was fantastic. Lyle Collins, young. And it's almost like you look up and it's gone. It's not all gone, but it's amazing how the attrition has worked against their offensive line.
I mean, it's a cliche for a reason. NFL stands for not for long. I mean, the average NFL career is 2.5 years. And, yeah, I mean, you find guys like Tyron and Zach who can play for a decade, but injuries got in Travis's way and he retired. Lyle Collins comes in and goes out. Doug Free comes in and goes out. Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny because I feel like they were so good in 2014 and 2016 that myth kind of it became its own thing. You know, the Dallas offensive line being this amazing unit kind of became this accepted fact around the league. And it really hasn't been true since probably 2017, maybe parts of 2018. So yeah, and it just is what it is. And now you look up and this is the 7th straight year where Tyron has missed time. That's unbelievable when you think about how rock solid he was for so long. But that's the nature of the league. And it's kind of funny. It kind of comes full circle because they started investing in the line to try to save Tony Romo because he was getting sacked all over the place. And so Dak inherited this wonderful offensive line, and then now they got to find a way to rebuild it again.
David, on the roster, I guess they got to make their decisions by tomorrow on the first wave of the 53. Do you think guys like Peyton Hendershot and Dennis Houston will make it?
I think Peyton Hendershot makes it because I think the stars really aligned for him, not just because he played well, but because you talk about attrition. I mean, there's just injuries all over the tight end spot. Jeremy Sprinkle was released with an Achilles injury. Sean McCune is dealing with a knee. So I think Hendershot makes it just because there aren't any other healthy tight ends behind Dalton Schultz and Jake Ferguson. Houston's going to be interesting just because, I mean, they're going to carry Michael Gallup and James Washington on the roster. Washington, at least for a day. It sounds like they're going to carry Michael Gallup for the long haul. So, I mean, that's 2 spots that are being accounted for by guys that aren't going to play week 1. So I just wonder, when you think about all that, there's ways you can get creative with this. They could cut Noah Brown and re-sign him 2 days later because Noah Brown is vested. He doesn't have to go through waivers. And the Cowboys love to do that type of stuff. They love to get tricky. They'll probably, if I had to guess, they'll cut 3 or 4 vested veterans that they can re-sign once they kind of finagle their roster around. But at the same time, every year we wring our hands about rookies making the team and whether or not they'll get claimed. And 99% of the time they go through waivers just fine and wind up on the practice squad. So, I think you could get away with cutting Dennis Houston, honestly, but they might not see it that way. And like I said, you could cut a Noah Brown so you can keep Dennis Houston and then bring Noah back when James Washington goes to IR. So it's very convoluted, but we're almost at the point where this initial 53 doesn't really mean anything because they're going to change it half a dozen times between tomorrow and Friday.
Well, the Cowboys have their issues on the offensive line. Obviously, Tyron Smith, who we've talked about. But, man, Tampa Bay, they've already lost now, 2, now possibly 3 starters on the offensive line?
Well, they lost a couple in the offseason to free agency retirement.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Jensen got hurt, and then their backup center got hurt. So, yeah, they're in it too. And again, what the Cowboys,
war of attrition, right?
Yeah, the war of attrition in the Cowboys. I don't know what you remember about him, but I had a chance. I was fortunate enough to interview him on a couple of occasions. I know he was huge in Troy Aikman's career, like North Turner was. What do you know much, and have you learned about Ernie Zampese?
I mean, it would have to be stuff that I learned. That was so far before my time. But I mean, from everything I've heard is that. First of all, made the transition seamless after North Turner left for his own head coaching career. But I mean, the number of people that have come out, and not just today because he passed away, but the number of people over the years that I've heard talk about, you think so many of these schemes and designs that are happening in football right now are new. They're really not. Ernie Zampese was doing a lot of this stuff, a lot of this spread football, the Air Coryell tree, all that type of stuff. And it's funny to think that, not that it's impossible to innovate, but, to some degree, it almost feels like everything has been done before and people just don't realize it. And from everything I've heard, Ernie Zampese was a big part of that and kind of was ahead of his time in terms of what the league has become now with how pass-happy it is.
All right, David, LSU, FSU at the Superdome this week. Your thoughts on how that game will go?
I mean, I told you off the air, Paul. I mean, I think LSU will win. I mean, it's a pretty unfair home field advantage to be able to play in the Superdome. I mean, I can't think of very many occasions off the top of my head where they've lost in that building just because of what an advantage it is. But man, it's a big unknown for LSU. I mean, we don't know who the quarterback is. The offensive line is being completely restocked by the transfer portal. There's a lot of talent on the defense, but most of it is young. And the best player on the team, Keyshawn Boutte, is coming off of an ACL tear. So I wouldn't be surprised by any result. I really wouldn't. But like I said, I think with the amount of talent on the roster and the fact that they're playing in the Dome, I would hope they can find a way to win, and I will positively lose my mind if they don't.
Ross Dellinger from SI.com. Southern decadence is coinciding this weekend with thousands of LSU and Florida State fans descending on New Orleans. How drunk can a city get? We're about to find out.
Oh, yeah, that'll be – I didn't even think about Southern decadence. But, yeah, man, I'm sad that I won't be able to make it back to New Orleans for this weekend because that's going to be a fun place to be for those 3 days for sure.
Well, I mean, Machona's going, right? So, I mean, do we need to get a phone tree to make sure he's okay?
Oh no, John can look after himself. Honestly, John is the guy who. Well, look, I mean, I love LSU. Like, I rewatch the games. I'm very into it. I know the two deep and all that stuff. But like, I'm gonna have a beer or 8 at the game. That's just how it's gonna be. And John is more the guy that's like listening to the radio broadcast, like drinking water in the upper deck. Like he's dialed in. So like, I'm not really worried about John getting lost in the sauce. I think he's too dedicated to knowing what's going on to do all that. Whereas, yeah, I mean, if I was going with him, I think you'd need to be worried about me. So it's probably for the best.
Yeah, we always worry about you, Dave. That's why we appreciate your time. Hey, enjoy it. We're closer. Next week, we actually can discuss a real game, and the start of the season. We appreciate your time.
Sounds good, fellas.
All right, buddy. David Hellman, FoxSports.com with us on Sikkim 365.
They're running him through at Fox Sports. You turn on Fox Sports, you're going to see David.
No, he's on there a lot, and I really like it. He really he's never been shy about an opinion. He's never been shy about his personality, and he just enjoys life. You can see that.
Yeah. By the way, Smokey, we have a couple of super chats that we did not get to last week. So we're going to get to them now. Hopefully you're watching or you go back and watch this later. From Nathan Brown, why wouldn't ESPN encourage the Pac-12 remainder and the Big 12 to basically merge, he says, minus Washington State and OSU, thus only needing to negotiate one contract?
All right, read that again.
Okay, I'll shorten it up. Why wouldn't ESPN encourage the Pac-12 and Big 12 to merge together? And then they only have to do one contract.
Yeah, but again, remember, that was like a thing, or at least a suggestion, and it didn't take long for that just to pretty much just dissolve.
We don't know that, like, somebody didn't tell them, like, look into it, but neither of them want to do it.
I don't know. I don't think so. I really think there are schools from the Pac-12, and this is not to be, like condescending to them or them to – I just think there are some schools in the Pac-12 that just will not be a part of a conference with some of the schools, or a lot of the schools, honestly, in the Big 12. They just won't.
They won't do it until they would have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. They would. There are scenarios in which they would, but those scenarios have not arisen because those are, final straw kind of things.
Right.
All right, from Uncultured Barbarian. Thought of you watching the Nebraska game, Smokey. Okay, so this wasn't from Friday. Does Scott Frost survive the season if Nebraska keeps losing close games? Love the show. I don't think he survives the season. This reminds me a lot of Kevin Sumlin's last year at A&M because they lost that game early to UCLA, and they blew the game really badly. They were up by a bunch. They made Josh Rosen $15 million.
Wasn't that the cane? When he came walking with the cane, the running back?
Yeah. It was all that, like, all of those things that happened, and you just kind of had the feeling that Kevin Sumlin's going back to College Station, but there are boxes outside of his office.
I don't think this is going to end up like Helton at USC. Or no, was it Lane Kiffin when they just left him?
No. It's not. I would think, though, because here's the date, October 1st, because of the negotiated contract he has, his buyout drops from $15 million to $7.5 million, which is essentially the rest of the money they would pay him for, like, next year, right? So they only have to pay 1 year of a buyout, and they would do it then. And now the way things are in college football, you want to get a jump and tell recruits that this is not the coach you'll be playing for if you're considering Nebraska. Now, will they be able to get somebody hired by October 2nd if they fire him on October 1st? Probably not. But given the coaching carousel we saw last year, put nothing past anybody.
No.
So
let me tell you, Scott Frost won a national championship. Classy player. Loved him. He was perfect for what Osborne ran. It was the last time they won a national title. He was unbelievable, but this has been a disaster. Will he last the season? The only way they do is if they win a game or two early on in the next 5 or 6 weeks that they're not supposed to win. And I'm saying this, and I'm not trying to be flippant. I don't know who else they beat. I honestly don't know if they're capable of winning any of their games because they're just not a very smart. Their football IQ is terrible. They were physically just beat up by Northwestern. And that's, again, think about that. Every other year, they're pretty good. They gutted them in the fourth quarter. They seem to, I cannot imagine him surviving the season. The question was, I cannot imagine him surviving the season. And again, obviously with what you said, October 2nd, you might get a press release.
What happened was with Saturday's game was very telling in that Pat Fitzgerald got a 3-point lead in that game and sat on it and was comfortable doing it because he knew that team would eat its own. It would just it would lock up. So he was more confident with just a 3-point lead.
Yep. And they did what Nebraska used to do with a lead. They'd get the ball and you'd never get it back. And just to be honest with them, not very good. And I'm really numb to it. And it initially I was like, but I'm numb to it. Yeah. By the way, is that it? The last super chat? Thanks to Uncultured Barbarian. Jason Asamoah committed to Baylor over the weekend. Number 13th ranked player in the 2024 men's basketball recruiting rankings over Arizona, Auburn, Illinois, Kansas, and other major programs. He's a big, long, tall, wing type player, but apparently is kind of a Kendall Brown type. Athletically, but he also can shoot the ball pretty well. And Kendall at times was not even asked to shoot it much, and sometimes you wondered if he would shoot it more than he did. So that's a note. And the Baylor volleyball team beat Wisconsin, the defending national champions, number 3 ranked team in the country, over the weekend. Jack McKenzie, of course, covers quite a bit of the Baylor sports. And a lot of times, again, today he was at the Dave Aranda media session as well. Back to Paul's Top 5 next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? During the Labor Day sales event at Allen Samuels, purchase a new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star and receive values up to $7,000, or choose 2.9% for 72 months and get $2,500 bonus cash and no payments for 90 days. Shop with us today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular in being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need from knickknacks to snacks to more at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 fits for Nebraska. I know you didn't want to talk about it, but I don't care.
No, Bear Bryant.
Yeah. If exorcism is the thing. By the way, super chat from Dave Aranda. Pack haven't won a bowl game in 2 years. Real stat. No, they've won. I don't know.
Who?
The Pac-12. I don't know. Somebody else is going to have to look that up for me because right now I'm in the top 5. But just wanted to acknowledge the $2 super chat and thank you, David, for that. All right, top 5 fits for Nebraska. Number 5, Jay Norvell from Nevada. This guy is ready to pop into the Power 5. I don't know if it'll be Nebraska, but he's at Nevada. He's a really good offensive mind. He's a good coach. I think he's ready to take the next step. Is he a builder? Is he not even a builder? Is he a rebuilder? Because that's what Nebraska has to be. Rebuilt.
You know, I know Jay Norvell. I don't know him, but I know the name. I know what he's done.
Doesn't get you excited.
Here's the point. If Scott Frost isn't the answer, then who the hell is besides Nick Saban?
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's not going to be someone that's been – it's not going to be an Urban Meyer. That ain't happening in Lincoln, Nebraska.
No. Nor should it.
What about Mark Stoops?
Number 4. Mark Stoops.
All right.
That's what we're doing here. So
kind of got an old grizzly, old school, but he's still hip. You know, he's kind of he's winning at Kentucky.
I wouldn't be surprised, though, for him to stay at Kentucky just for spite now against his basketball.
Just to haunt Calipari,
yeah. So, especially if they have a good season this year again. But Mark Stoops has done a great job there.
Ooh, here's a name that popped in the chat room.
Yeah.
He would not do that, though.
Number 3, 0-7. Thank you, Levi. Number 3, Jamie Chadwell. I don't know why he's not in the P5 yet. And maybe this is the guy they need.
How old is he?
Not old.
Yeah, he's kind of a young pup, right?
Yeah.
We had him on the show. Great guy.
Great.
I love his personality. A little bit unique, right? A little bit. Is he going to recruit to Nebraska?
Look.
Can anyone? They actually have, their recruiting rate, 36th in the country, and they're actually having a pretty good run. But that's...
You know, Tom Osborne.
I know, but different rules back then.
But I do think that anybody can really recruit anywhere.
Yeah, no, because you can say, can you really recruit to Tuscaloosa? Think about it. We put labels on these cities where these schools are. I mean, all of them are usually smaller towns.
Yeah. I mean, look, and it might change. We've had a couple ADs that say, Houston, UCF, they feel like major metropolitan cities in the new NIL era might be able to push a little bit more because there's more opportunity for people to make money off the field because it's a bigger city. So those cities could see an uptick in recruiting. But if it was all about the city, San Diego State would be in the Power 5
they would
and
be.
they'd be dominating. I mean,
here's from Wayne.
Miami would have never dropped off.
Yeah, Miami, by Wayne Gerbic, it sounds logical about Frost, but Trev Alberts doesn't seem to be the type of guy who would dismiss a former Husker during the season, though he likely will have grounds to do so.
Well, I don't think Trev Alberts will be making this decision
that's going to be way above. And Trev is kind of a newbie when it comes to being an AD anyway.
Yeah. But I think Jamie Chadwell, again, it's bringing somebody up. It's bringing an attitude and cheerfulness around the program, which maybe they need, and someone who's enthusiastic. Number 2, I like the fit. We don't think it's going to happen, but I think Matt Campbell's a great fit for
you're going to lose
Nebraska.
Iowa State fans are going to lose their mind.
But
every opening now, it's a Power 5 type school or a blue blood, his name's going to be attached. Just like we've seen it with Baylor coaches.
Look, I would have maybe swapped him out for Luke Fickell if Luke Fickell's situation's about to get immensely better in a hurry.
Do you know who Nebraska almost hired a few years back? Was Gary Patterson. They almost early.
I would have said that when they would have hired him, that's a good idea. I think his ship has sailed.
He would have won.
But I think that...
And they would have really, truly had, when they say black shirts, a black shirt mentality.
Yeah.
They need to get rid of that tradition until they actually do something legitimate.
Yeah. And number 1, I mean, you said it, Matt Rule. We were talking about this in the break, and maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But if he is not
let me text him.
If he is not in Carolina, which, he's not going to answer that question because he's got a job right now and a really good one. He's an NFL coach. He's making a ton of money. But if his owner decides, David Tepper decides that Matt Rule is not the guy. But I will tell you this. There's everybody around Carolina. The fans are getting hot because it's been 2 years and they haven't had a lot of success. But they haven't had a quarterback. But their owner, David Tepper, comes from the Steelers ownership group. He learned from the Roonies. The Roonies.
Yeah, but when did he join Pittsburgh's ownership group? Because they had already started. They had won handfuls.
But if you learn from, if you're going to try to do things like they do,
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin.
That's it.
And which is what Nebraska used to have. Bob Devaney, Tom Osborne, Frank Solich, and then poof, now they're going through them, spitting them out like they're candy.
But Matt Rule would crush that job.
No, he would. I had somebody tell me this. That, yes, he would, because of the kind of players he would get there, and he could recruit there. But the problem is, he wants most. If in fact it ever happens again, I wish him the best in Carolina. He wants to go to a place where recruiting wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, and I think of
course, every coach would want that.
I am not a Baker Mayfield apologist. I'm a Baker Mayfield realist. And if he is healthy and they block for him and the stars in that team, McCaffrey and DJ Moore, play well, then Matt Rule's not going to be available because they'll do well enough to keep him. Because the defensive roster, have you seen the roster on defense that he and Phil Snow have built? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's great. Everybody would want that roster on defense.
Yeah.
Our roster on offense, except for the quarterback, is pretty damn good. So, and we'll see with Baker this year. So I don't know. But I do think if Matt Rule got that job, and he's going to be mentioned for a lot of college jobs until the Carolina situation is panned out, he would crush it. He would absolutely crush it. And of course, we're big Matt Rule fans because we know him so well here.
And by the way, if I text him and said, hey, by the way, he would block my number. And he's probably wanted to do that many times before anyway. There's a lot of great feedback. This day has been too much about them, but I understand why, because they're a dumpster fire. Thank you to everybody. Paul, thank you. Craig's back with us tomorrow. Emery, Levi, Garrett, Jacob, and Jack all around here being a part of what we do every single day. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I just know that, they're a mess. They're a mess. I'm David Smoak. Thank you again. Sikkim 365 Radio. Sikkim365.com 6th year anniversary when it launched. And 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.